Hello, you're listening to the Eric McKenna Project.
I feel you.
All right, so these are the reason I bring up the microphone thing is, and I want to ask you this on the show too. How do you get guests, or what do you do when your guest? Let's just fucking go. We're gonna go.
Yeah.
What do you do when your guest won't speak into the microphone? They're having a stream of consciousness, and they're going like this, and
it depends on who you have on. You know what I mean? If you have comedians or actors on, they kind of know how to.
They know.
Yeah,
or a musician or singer.
Yeah, they
right?
notice. Stay there, or radio people. You know what I mean? But then you have pedestrians on. You're not anymore. You're in the showbiz game now. Eric, you're not. Look at this. Look at Pittsburgh Rogan here. Look at this. This is unbelievable. No one's ever said that. Come on, this is great. No, I want to compliment you for just having a room, because I feel like no, I'm saying like
I do pay the rent.
I was telling you when I came in here that I'm a guy that has a room. People want to say like man cave and blah blah blah. No.
Okay.
This is it's you know what it is. My room at my house we call the dad cave on the podcast. Whatever.
Yep.
But I decorated. It's got movie posters and artwork and things and toys and music and it's our muse room.
So you get it.
It's our muse room, right?
MUSC, baby.
That's it. It's the colors, the people. Look at this. These people inspire you. Every time I walk in my movie room, I'm like, look at these original Star Wars posters. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's it's not classic rock, but you know what I mean?
I get it.
It's my classic rock.
Well,
So congratulations that you have a grown man room. I'm serious. This is dope. This is dope. I got a little elephant in my room too. See, look.
Yeah, and that's not a Republican elephant. That's more about the Buddha thing going on there. Just so we clarify that. We don't do that. We don't do that stuff on this show. Too much of that nonsense.
I don't. I just talk about having fun.
How do you deflect that with your gig? Like, how do you deflect that stuff? 'Cause I know you're down the middle.
Yeah, I don't. I really don't just. I don't talk politics and religion. I just, comedy is to get away for me.
Got it.
You know what I mean?
Got it.
And the people the people that can talk about issues, I love it. We need those people. There's people that are called to different voices. You know what I mean? Mine is, I know what makes me laugh is entertainment has always, taken me away.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
That's been my whole life. So that's what I've, learned to do from the entertainment that I love.
Yeah.
So that's just my thing. You know what I mean? But there's people that are amazing at political humor. And if you're good at it.
Political humor is amazing.
Yeah, man, you got to be good.
You got to be good, and there really aren't any political humorists anymore that don't reveal their own. You know what I mean? Like, I think in the 60s, 70s, 80s, they could be funny about it, but hit both sides.
Right.
But now they kind of identify with a side and then hit the other side.
I mean, because, George Carlin, you could say he is as liberal as can be. Sure. But he shit on everybody.
Republicans loved him.
Yeah, I mean, he shit on everybody. And there's people doing that. There's some people doing that.
Really?
Yeah, I mean, I shouldn't have said that because then I was like, who?
Yeah, but I don't know of any. Bill Maher sometimes, because I can see him walking the fence occasionally.
I see him occasionally. I watch that a little bit. Yeah, he hits people sometimes. He doesn't bullshit, But
I think Rogan, to a degree, I think he comes off as this liberal person, but I mean, he's got a lot of stand up for rights kind of stuff. So I don't know.
Yeah, sure. I mean,
I don't know.
Yeah, I mean,
does it matter?
I mean, I guess you just want to listen to everybody at some point and try
it's smart.
Sure.
Do we do it?
I know, right? So yeah, I just, my comedy has always been about having fun and taking people away and laughing about normal life and shit like that. So
all right, listen, right off the bat, COVID.
Yes.
So what's the last 18 months been like? Well, 16 months been.
It's so funny.
14 months.
I feel like you're starting a conversation at a picnic that you like want to jump into the woods.
That's what we do.
Like
here.
everybody, like how many friends? How many? In the last couple months going back out in public, people are like, so how's it going? And you're like, what the fuck? I don't even know what to say to you. Like, do you want to talk about, the plague? Do you want to talk about how we might all go bankrupt, or you want to talk about the revolution? Where do you want to start? You know what I mean? Like, what the? You know what I mean? Like, so like, it's a loaded question when someone's like, so how's comedy? And you're like,
House comedy.
garbage? This is garbage.
Are you still doing that comedy thing?
I know. Like you've been on television, and they're like, so like, oh my God, T-Robe, how people are saying like T-Robe's in 20 years, and people are like, so like, what else do you do for a living? And I'm like, well, in Pittsburgh, me and T-Robe, we're the full-time guys. Just the T-Robe. Holler at my boy T-Robe. We're the full-timers. We're paying the bills with comedy. Yeah, it's.
But is that symptomatic of Pittsburgh, though? Do you think a little bit? You travel a lot, so is it a Pittsburgh thing to question celebrity or question entertainment as a vocation?
Well, I think too. It's just a world that people don't understand, because you only see, the people that have 1 million followers. You only see the people on, the covers of magazines. You only see, the people that are on the, billboards selling out, the improv and theaters and stuff like that. There's so many, like, when you tell people, you're like, I make a living as an actor and a comedian. And they're like, well, how? What are you talking about? There's lots of us. There's a lot of,
Right.
I would say comedians that full-time make a living, we've talked about this before, in the country, there might be 500, maybe less than that.
Wow.
Wow. Yeah. And so when you're like, I'm one of them, but I'm not one of like the top, I'm like 459. You know what I mean? Like,
but you're in there. I
tell you what. You sit around for a year and you feel real thankful about some things.
Yeah, I bet.
You're like, I'm in the bullpens. You know what I mean? People are looking at my pitching. You know what I mean? I don't know shit about baseball.
When it first started, though, like when you first got where were you? How did you realize that it really was a thing that came from Europe, and all of a sudden we can't like kind of leave the house? Like, what was your thought going? Being what you do for a living. Yeah.
Not to make a long story again and again, because I feel like it's like, what else do we say about this?
Yeah.
It was, I remember, I want to say, like, I remember T-Robe talking about it on here. Mm-hmm. It was the same kind of thing where I was awaiting the release of my comedy special.
Right.
We were in March 2020.
That was filmed in 19. Is that right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So
very funny, by the way.
Oh, thank you, brother. So we were gonna release my Amazon special. Mm-hmm. At the time, it's weird to say, showbiz stuff. You can't like. There was a whole process.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And there was, just it was delayed for a certain couple different reasons. At the end of the day, it was money. Because like entertainment.
Oh, sure.
That's just what it is. And so we were like, okay, we're going to release it Father's Day 2020. And I had March, April, May of 2020. I had a couple clubs I've never headlined before. It was so funny because I heard T-Robe talk about this, and I would, and it honestly reminded me to call T.
Mm-hmm. Call T.
I really like catching up on your show and listen, and I was like, I gotta call T. Because we went through the same thing, and I'm like, I should have called him and but we were all, it was just like
I can't imagine.
You're in the trenches just trying to look out for your family. We'll get to that.
Yeah.
But so I was at a point where I was headlining some clubs I've never headlined before, which is the goal. You're always trying to step up, a little bit, find new places to play, find new people to make laugh, and shows started canceling. And I was like, oh shit, and so I had those shows, and then I had weekends with Harlan Williams, who's one of the friends that I, open for, superstar.
Right.
I have my own podcast. I don't know what to do. But so that start, Harlan hits me up and he's like, well, they're bumping these to July.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? These are to July.
Gotta flatten that curve.
How funny. Listen, what you guys don't understand is during these 14, 15 months, literally every 2 weeks, all comedians were like gophers in a hole, and we were like, is it time yet? Is it time yet? Are we opening yet? No? Shit. Okay. Are we? No? Okay, goodbye. Like, and then we'd go back in our holes and cry and play Xbox with our kids. So that stuff started canceling, you know, and it's right moving to the summer and getting postponed and canceled. And it was I had a slow January, February. Yeah. It was just one of those things, you know. You do sales in some sense, you know. I mean, you know, you have a slow month, you know. Same with comedy. Like, I'm not, you know, selling, you know, Avon or houses. I'm selling myself. I'm a salesperson. So when you have a bad sales month, you know, so I was pumped to get into that spring of 2020. You know, I was like, okay, recoup after Christmas, my 3 kids, you know what I mean? Shit like that. And it all starts canceling. And it's funny. I don't know why. I keep bringing up T-Road because I literally listened to it the other day. But, you know, I was just like, I don't know what to do. So I streamed comedy.
Yeah.
Like,
what else were you going to do?
Yeah, at the end of March 2020, I was just like, hey, I'm going to be, I have to do comedy. I had all these shows canceled. You know, I just, you know, want to do comedy. And if you want to donate, whatever. So I streamed it on Facebook. I was just like, I'm just going to do new shit, whatever. I'll just get in my notebook and just like try stuff. And I ended up doing like 36, 38 minutes of just new stuff, rambling to literally people commenting. Yeah. It was crazy.
How'd that work?
It was just, you just see, for me, it was okay. And it was okay because I had to do new shit.
Okay.
And I realized doing that first stream in last March, because I'm a type of, I don't write a lot down. I just don't write a lot down. Okay. When I write a set for comedy,
I'm scared.
If I do 45 minutes, I write down about 6 or 7 words.
Okay.
And then I kind of just remember what that NCAA spider tree looks like. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I think so.
So streaming, it was easier for me to do new material because I just kind of call it like a snowball. I just kind of like roll off a hill and just try new shit and see what sticks to me. Oh, I got a skier. You know what I mean? Like, so that's what I was doing on that streaming show, and people loved it because I was just winging it. I was just talking and open micing really for 36 minutes.
Yeah, but as a comedian, did you miss that? I mean, obviously you did, but like what was that like? Not having that instant feedback.
I tell you what, it was. I mean, it was very soon, and like it was March, the end of March. So. For me then, it was different than what everyone understood. You know what I mean? Like what Zoom comedy is now. Okay. It was really just like reassuring that people like cared that we lost our gigs. And like T was saying with DJ, when he DJ'd a set, like people started, I said, if you want to donate, people Venmo'd me a lot of money.
I bet.
It was amazing. You know, people bought shirts. They went on, you know, it was amazing. And, you know, hey, I mean, that really paid my bills for like 3 months.
Right.
I mean, you know, help me. It helped me. I mean, it's huge. So, not to get into too much Zoom comedy because it's gone. I think it's gone. Jesus. Lord Jesus on. Hold on, Eric. Lord Jesus on high. Please tell me that live comedy is here to stay. Amen. No more Zoom comedy. No, it's, you know, people were innovative.
We finally flattened the curve.
Yeah, I think so. I don't know. I don't know what happened. Is this a terrible show? Is this? I want it to be good.
This is excellent.
Gosh, where were we? I'm glad you have notes because I told you I don't write anything down, and I
usually don't either.
I talk in Post-it notes. So if there's something that I forget to touch on, you got to grab it and say, "Hey, remember this."
Your first live act back. You've done it already, or it's coming up.
It's well, we don't want to date ourselves. It's tomorrow.
This is evergreen, so we're generally in June somewhere.
You know, I've done a couple like open mics that were around because I had to, and I didn't get out like a lot of other people. You're saying with the pandemic, you know, so I have not performed in a building for 13 months.
Got it.
Easily until I started doing these couple open mics.
They feel good.
Yeah, it was. I've done a couple, and it was like
it's been a while since you probably did an open mic, right?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
That's what I mean.
Yeah. So like, you know, it was like I wore a hoodie, which was a mistake.
You wear a hoodie.
yeah, I don't know what the hell I was doing. I hate my body, Eric. No, I know. I was like, maybe it's going to be cold in there. And they were like, no, we're not turning on the air conditioning. What are you, crazy? No, so I was like sweating, and I just was like, am I a comedian anymore?
Well, you
like
had
it
a
just
hood on.
I know, right? But you just felt crazy. Like it just felt crazy. But then it's like I went back, and it was like 2 or 3 times where I was like, okay, Daddy still got it. Okay, Daddy, you're
Like
gonna
riding
be okay.
a bike for
Dude,
you guys, right?
Yeah, but like now it feels like a stolen bike. No, it was no, it feels good. I'm very excited. And it wasn't like everybody else, talking about like what it's like today. Now, going back, I never thought that I would not be in a comedy club for 14 months.
Yeah.
I mean,
did COVID give you a lot of material, or do people think they want to talk about it anymore? Where do you think people are right now?
I think, listen, if you want to talk about, what you should be doing, I would say you're going to talk about it. You're going to, like as a comedian, you got to, kind of pop the elephant in the room. You know what I mean?
Yeah, sure.
Sure. So, yeah, I mean, I have like, when I did the open mics, I said something silly about, some shit, COVID mask, whatever. Just to kind of break the ice, and then just like, okay, let's get into it. You know what I mean? Like, okay, we all know. We all heard everybody talk about it. I don't know how I could possibly come up with something that's, whatever. Let's go. You know what I mean? Like, let's move on. You know what I mean? But that I even during the pandemic, some Zoom shows I did, I was just telling a comedian friend, like, I wrote some COVID jokes that I'm like ashamed of because they're so corny.
Oh, really?
Like I had a joke. I was like, man, did they have to call it Corona? That was my favorite beer. Like, that's terrible. Is it?
Well, it depends on how you deliver it.
Is that
right?
a funny joke? I know
it's not bad
if I tell it like that.
Delivered well.
Well,
yeah.
I said, wouldn't it be better if they people if you call Corona, people are like, oh, that's refreshing. You know what I mean? Like, but like, why don't you call it like Bartles and James? Nobody wants that shit. Nobody wants to.
They still make that stuff.
I think so. Nobody wants like a something that sounds like 2 old men gave you an STD. You know what I mean? See, it's a corny dad jokes that I'm doing on Zoom, Eric. I gotta get back on stage.
So, do you just pick up, like, this is what I don't understand about the comedic environment now. Do you simply just resume as if you just picked up from March of 20?
That, it's funny. Okay. So, it's a little weird for me. I see, comics, like, going right back, and they're, like, they're headlining. And I will be straight up right now. Mm-hmm. I cannot headline right now. I cannot. And people say, oh, yeah, you can. Yeah, you can. What happened with me is that, so I had all these gigs, I was supposed to release my comedy special, which instead of Father's Day, we ended up releasing it early in April.
Right. On
Good Friday.
Right.
Just because people were home, and we thought, you know what? Let's move it up.
Take advantage of that.
We, my director and my production company, Animal, I mean, they were just like, let's do it. Let's expedite it. Let's, get on the phone with Amazon, say how fast can we, put this out. And then there was like, everybody had pandemic excuses. So it was like, Amazon's like, we're delayed because of COVID. And like it was just like, it was like, can you guys send us, like sound files? And they're like, we're delayed because of COVID. I'm like, you have a computer at your house. What are you talking? Anyway. So it was just weird. It was, we were able to get it out, but here's the thing, and I'm answering your question. I just go the long way, okay? Go the long way home. Is that a song?
It was.
Go the long way. I don't know who is it.
Supertramp, right?
Bam, that's right. Yeah, that's right.
Look where you are. You should expect that answer.
Oh yeah, you're right. No. What was I saying? You have to cut out so many uhs.
No, I don't. We don't edit.
No, so I was supposed to put that out. I put it out early, and it was. Thank you. I mean, people watched it. It hit almost over 500,000 views.
But you announced that on PTL either at the beginning of 20 or at the end of 20, right?
Yeah, I think it was the beginning of 20. I co-hosted PTL. I think
with David.
No, I don't remember. But it was really. I know it was like right before the pandemic because I was like, oh, we're editing it. It's coming out. Yeah. So we came out with it. It did fine. It did great. but it's funny because you're like, I got, 500,000 views on Amazon, and someone's like, I got 2 million on a tweet. Like, people don't give a shit, okay? They don't. Like, I'm not kidding. People are like, I got 500 shares on a Facebook post.
So it's really not. It really isn't currency like people think it is, right? Is it a currency? Like views and likes and all this stuff.
Yes.
It is a currency.
100%. Yes.
Okay.
This is the game we're in.
Okay.
It is. It is. Yeah, because I've asked all those questions, and then they ask you, how many followers do you have? What's your average post like? And I'm just like, what? I'm like, I'm funny? I think I'm funny? And they're like, but for real though, how many Instagram? And I was like, I don't know what to tell you.
Right.
But
so you have to be aware of all that. Obviously, as an entertainer, you have to be aware of all that.
Yeah, absolutely. You got to dive in a little bit. You got, it's part of the game. It's part of the business. I mean, I'm not TikToking my ass off, okay? But it's part of the game. But no, so it was a thing, and I'm totally getting back. This is all part of that question. So what it was is I put out this comedy special, and we're in the middle of the pandemic, and every comedian is depressed. It's a depressing time. And I know some of my friends were able to go out and perform still. And
really, how much that went on? Because I didn't see much of that.
Well, I know a lot of my friends, like T-Robe got out. There were some friends during the pandemic.
Later on,
right,
fall,
like later
right?
in the summer and fall.
Yeah,
right.
Certain states open fast.
Right. So, but I wasn't out for 14 months, and that was, I was streaming everything. I was doing my podcast.
Right.
I had some of the biggest guests I've ever had, because I could stream anybody now.
Right.
Anybody who had had a phone number.
Saget on there, right?
Yeah, I had Bob Saget because I was like, well, Bob ain't doing nothing.
Mm-hmm.
I'm serious. And I never had people on my podcast, that was not in the room. So if I ever had celebrities on my podcast, it was us literally sitting in the hotel,
Right.
And so I was like, well, why not? I have episode 200 coming up.
208, I think, right?
Yeah, right. Bob was on episode like 200. So I was just like, hey, Bob, finally I can stream. I feel comfortable about streaming the podcast. Why don't you come on? And so I did that. I did a live happy hour on Friday nights where I just had literally like this, like comedians sitting streaming, like just talking.
Was that Daily Dad? What was Daily Dad? Was that an accompanying to the...
No, I did more. I know. I tried everything. So from like April until July, I streamed all different kinds of little things.
Got it.
I did a Daily Dad, which was 5 days a week for 50 days straight.
Right.
Just like a 4 or 5 minute. It was really me just riffing on ideas in my head, having coffee in the morning, on the porch. And I thought, why not give that a try? You know what I mean? Because you want to stay sharp, and it did.
It's content too.
Social media content.
That's the big word.
Social media content hashtag. Yeah, I know, dude. Right? And you're just like, well, I just want to, you're trying to get in there and do all that shit. And I was doing all that, and just like people said, they were streaming stuff, and people were tipping you and Venmoing you, and then it just trickled down and down. And you get it, man. Because once you start hitting June, July last year, people were really locking down and getting scared.
It got ugly there for a while.
Yeah. And so, it was just like, I did my comedy special. I did as much content as I possibly could to try to just bridge that.
Yeah.
Because what happens is when you do a comedy special, you do an album or whatever, just like bands, you go on tour.
Right.
So I'm just like, go see this on Amazon. Then I'm gonna go do a tour of it.
Of course.
Do an encore.
Of course.
You do the album, do some of the best parts of your album.
Right.
And then you throw some new shit out. Right. You work on new shit. That's how, when you're doing that, you're doing an hour, that's what you want to do.
Yeah.
And I couldn't do that.
Yeah, couldn't get out there.
And that killed me. It killed me that I could not go out and purge that material from my comedy special and do new shit, because it's like you're getting in a new car.
Yeah.
Do you know what I'm saying? It's like, just like albums, music, and I love music. I love music. If you follow me on Spotify, I literally am listening to music 18 hours a day. Like it's part of the muse, man.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
I'm with you.
And so, like different musicians, their albums feel different.
Certainly. Bands,
you know what I mean?
Absolutely.
Yeah,
it's a career.
Led Zeppelin is my favorite rock band of all time.
Oh, right on.
Every single album is different. That's one.
Pretty much.
That's one of the best of all time.
What's the best one? There was only 11, right?
It's so hard.
7? Oh.
2? Led Zeppelin 2?
That's a good. Brown Bomber's a good one.
I don't know. But, you know, I was ready to, you know, I did this grown-ass dad.
Yes.
And it was all of my material I've been doing the last 5 years, 6 years, the best that I could come up with. Sorry, Hollywood. That
was 2015 you started, right? I mean, you've been podcasting a while.
Podcasting? Oh, yeah.
I mean, the podcast, the farthest episode 1 was 2015.
Yeah. Comedy, I'm talking, stand-up wise.
Yeah.
Grown ass
podcast.
Sorry, yeah. The podcast grown. I know. Too much grown. I apologize, everybody. My first album was Grown Man Business.
There or something.
I don't know what happened. It's me attempting brand. Am I a brand? I don't know. It was my first album was Grown Man Business, which is the album that comedians do when they have no business recording an album. That's that one. When you read, you go back and listen to half of it, and you're like, "What the fuck? I was garbage." Then my podcast was Grown Dad Business because I started a podcast about being a dad and a family man. Long story boring about that. My podcast Grown Dad Business started because of Doug Benson.
Oh yeah.
Doug Benson, if you know Doug Benson, you know Doug Loves Movies.
Yeah.
I've done that about a dozen times.
Yeah, right on.
I wanted to start a podcast, and I was with. I remember I was.
Why?
Right, because everyone was right, and I was like, I want to start a podcast, and I was at the DC Improv with Doug. One of the best weekends of performing of my life. I was at the DC Improv with Bert Kreischer, and the same weekend Doug Benson was in, so I opened for him and did Doug Loves Movies.
Oh, cool. Very cool.
So at that point, I was with two comedians that you cannot drink and smoke with, or you cannot not drink and smoke with.
I believe it.
It was what a weekend. But I remember Bert, asking Doug Benson about podcasting. Just, we're bullshitting, right?
Right.
And I said, yeah, I've been wanting to start something, and me and my buddy, we have one about movies, you know what I mean? And, me and Sean Collier. Film reviewer.
Yeah. Yep.
We started a movie podcast before I had mine.
Right on.
And I said, but Doug goes, okay, well, you love movies. That's why I have you on my thing. He goes, but how many of your fans want to listen to you talk about movies? And I was like, maybe 2%. You know what I mean? Like at that point, not fans. You know what I mean?
Got it.
The people are paying attention to
Got
you.
it.
And he says, well, what's your fans like? What do you talk? You're talking about your kids and stuff. And he was like, so why don't you just do like a dad podcast?
Smart.
And I was like, okay, Doug.
Yeah. Yeah.
He'd probably get 1,000%. He does not remember that. But
I wonder why.
But yeah, and he was just like, talk about what you know and what your fans know, and they'll like it. You know what I mean?
Of course.
So that was Grown Dad Business, and then my comedy special on Amazon is Grown Ass Dad.
I know.
Which is a weird thing. We changed the title. I don't know if this is exclusive. Originally, I called it No Vacations. And just because it was kind of the intro of my comedy special. And, the creative people I was working with, my director, they were just like, we just wanted to, really go on Amazon. We really want someone to see it and say, oh, yeah, we get it.
Yeah, right on.
And it just, since I'm an unknown, people can go on, Amazon and they see Cat Williams or they see, Birbiglia or something. They know what they're getting. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? But not everybody knows who I am. Mm-hmm. Nobody does. You know what I mean?
Well, that's not true.
Well, you know what I'm saying? We're in that middle purgatory of showbiz. You know what I mean? Where we're still is it me yet? Is it me yet? Okay, is it me yet? That Gopher thing's good. That's good. That's what it feels like. You're just like, is it my turn?
You're like the Night Ranger of comedy.
Night Ranger? Yeah, I know. I love it. Wait, is that the song? What song? I know it. It's in my head.
They had a little bit of a break there, but they never really got to that next thing,
It's hilarious. But yeah, they were saying something like, we want someone to see your face and see you on Amazon, and when you see Grown Ass Dad, and by the way, the ass is like wingdings. Is that what you call it? Characters?
Asterisks?
It's an at symbol.
Yes. Why'd they do that in year 2020?
A percentage and a dollar sign.
Yes.
Okay. But it kind of worked.
Okay.
it worked.
Okay.
Because I will say, though, it was confusing at some point, especially like the audio album and stuff like that and Spotify. But they were like, yeah, okay. And they actually talked about examples they had and how they worked, because they have, there's all kinds of stuff on Amazon that's like literally the name is a hashtag.
Oh yeah,
you know what I mean?
I get it.
It was actually I wish we would have fucking filmed it, of us deciding what characters made the word ass. Like literally having a creative meeting, looking at like symbols on a whiteboard, and I was like, I got an idea. Who gives a shit? But to all credit to like my creative partner Adam Chico, my director Michael Killen, like they were right. And then when you look at the design and the brand of it, and I'm like, okay, this looks good. It looks good. You're right. It works. It's whatever.
Okay.
So fast forward to the I have my album, and like I said, I couldn't do it. I couldn't purge that material, and so now I'm in a weird place.
Yeah, I bet.
I'm in a weird place because I don't have like an hour I want to do. I'm right now still building my house. Like I literally sold a house, and I bought some land for the new house, and then everyone was like, stop building. So I was just pacing around a concrete pad and some studs for like 14 months.
Right.
And I was like, this is going to be funny one day. This, I swear to God. You know what I mean? Like, I try to give you an analogy that you
I get it.
You can jump on. I music, all that.
It wasn't much of a reach. I figured it out. That was good. That was good.
But so that's where I'm at now. And that's 100% honesty.
Yeah.
That's just what happens. And so now I'm just excited to just go work out.
Yeah.
I'm just excited to get on stage and vomit ideas. Like, really.
I always thought when I started that I would have a hard time getting comedians on this show. And I have not really had too much problem. And I realized these fuckers like to talk. They really like to talk.
I'm interrupting you as you're saying that. We love attention. Like,
It's not a bad thing.
No. What I always say,
it's inside, don't we all?
Yeah, dude, come on. All of our inner childs are beat up. We all need a little something, and this is my thing. And listen, to this day, I'm thankful that making people laugh is my thing. A lot of people, do all sorts of things to try to, make their heart feel better.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? And I'm a comedian. I've done them. I've tried them all. You know what I mean? And the only things that work is like my wife and kids and comedy and Jesus. That's it. That's all I don't know what to tell you. I don't, you know what I mean? So, but I'm thankful that I have my wife and comedy, and that I'm not, like I always say, like my wife, I don't know where I'd be. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? I'd be a, like piece of white trash. I'd have 2 kids, you know what I mean, with different moms and shit. I'd be like living in an apartment in Homestead.
Well, at least you're honest.
I'd be DJing VFWs. You know what I mean? I don't know who I'd be.
There's one right down the street.
I don't know.
They probably got a guy in there doing exactly that.
Yeah, but it is. We need it, man. We need it.
Yeah, there's no question about that. To me, a world without laughter is, and again, at the beginning of the pandemic, there probably wasn't much laughter in society, period, at all.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
People were afraid to make jokes. It's right after 9/11. People were afraid to be funny.
Right.
Because we're all looking at each other like, are we going to be, is this the time?
Right.
Should we or shouldn't we?
Yeah, there was people getting out. And for me, you did touch on something that I did feel. And the reason why I kind of took a hiatus. I was doing all that streaming stuff. And, I was just like, it was a lot of time and effort, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Editing and, it's like I'm not rich. I can't pay all these people to edit my stuff. It's us.
Yeah, right.
It's us.
Right on.
It's me sitting in, like, when my kids go to bed, editing a podcast, you know?
Welcome to my world.
I know. So it was just, I was doing all the streaming content, you know what I mean? And it was great, but then the reality, and all love to everybody that watched, it was hard putting all that time in, and then, like, you're running out of money. You know? Like, I make a living from acting
This is
and
what
comedy.
you do, yeah.
Yeah. And listen, there were people that stayed with me all year.
Yeah,
you know,
right
I
on.
have, some Patreon supporters that up their money. I mean, I saw amazing people bless me. Comedians literally sending me checks.
Yeah, right on.
I'm Venmoing me.
Yeah,
out of nowhere.
That's pretty inspiring.
Send all love to your kids. I mean,
Yeah, it's inspiring.
it's amazing.
Yeah, no doubt.
And
Yeah, but that's an
It
example
is.
of the industry taking care of its own.
yeah,
And not a lot of industries will do that.
yeah, it's amazing.
I'm speaking about one in particular.
And I get emotional because it's inspiring.
Well, sure it is.
Because the comedians that I've come up with,
Yeah.
I have not been. I've been with them for a reason. You know what I mean? And they taught me character. They teach you how to do things with integrity, and that's the people that I like rolling with.
Let's talk about that. What is, in terms of your background,
Yeah,
why comedy, and when the fuck did that start?
I know, right? That's such a loaded question, and I feel like
That's what I do.
I know, I love it, and I love that I can talk about it and not feel guilty.
Yeah, right on.
Because you asked me. Because
It's hot in here, ain't it?
Yeah, I know.
It's hot as the sun, man. You know why? It's lava lamps, man.
That's right. Sorry,
These
no,
two massive
no,
ones down.
no. It's because I drank an iced coffee and had a donut before the show. Guys, living the dream. I'm fatter than ever.
Got to introduce you to clean living, brother.
Are you
Clean
getting
eating,
are you
man.
getting a side shot of this over here? Look at this hot shot right here, baby. Shout out Josh Gibson Foundation.
Josh Gibson Foundation.
Yeah, you got to talk to Sean Gibson. Oh, he's great. I'll introduce you.
Please do.
Oh, amazing. What were we talking about? What was the post-it note before I start crying on your
Your
show?
background. What got you
No,
into comedy? Who beat you up as a kid? Sent you into a dark place.
My stepdad.
I knew there was
Real answer.
I knew
No,
there
yeah.
was a story
No,
there.
you know what? Not to, there's a kind of a mini doc in front of my Amazon special, Grown Ass Dad.
Okay.
Michael Killen really put together a story about me. That was the other thing about putting something out there from somebody who's not nationally recognized. And, Michael Killen, the director, producer, kind of presented me the idea and saying, like, we talked about, like, how, like, when you see the Olympics and stuff and how they introduce you to, like, new talent. You know what I mean? They tell you a little bit of their story.
Right.
And he's like, I want to tell people who you are. You know what I mean? And, the decision he made to talk a little bit about my childhood and a little bit like where I'm from and how important my family is. I mean, it's amazing. He did a great job. I don't know if like people watched it and turned it off because it was too depressing or something, or they're like, this guy's what is this comedy special about next? I wonder how many people just at about 4 minutes they're like, I'm done.
I think I jumped straight into like the first quarter of the show. I missed that.
that's
you're
okay.
always scamming. It's not scamming. You're always
Right.
scanning through things.
But it was like this little 5-minute intro about me.
Okay.
And
go back and check that
no,
out.
yeah, no. It just talked about how, I lived through domestic violence and I moved to Homestead, Steel Valley, when I was in like 5th grade. And I was just this scared little kid, you know what I mean? And I moved into, in the 90s, it was a rough school. It was the 90s were rough for, urban cities,
Sure
urban
it was.
centers,
Sure it was.
and Homestead was an impoverished community, 10 years out of the steel industry, you know what I mean? So it was a rough school at that time. Now, I mean, incredible, much better. I mean, really just the whole community is blossoming and it's amazing. And,
Yeah.
all love to Homestead, Steel Valley.
Certainly.
Amazing.
Big change there.
But yeah, I was that scared kid who, just didn't know anything to do but lash out and misbehave for attention. I didn't know anything. I didn't know what else to do. And I remember going to middle school. It was like, I've only been in Steel Valley for, I was only there for maybe like a half a year, right?
Okay.
And I go into middle school and all these kids that I didn't grow up with. I grew up at a nicer suburban neighborhood, but it was, horrible inside my house.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Now I go to a place where it's safe outside my house, And I just was like, I'm just going to be aggressive. I'll just whatever, I was,
How'd that work?
did not work. I mean, I've told this story a couple times. I remember being in gym class. It was like the first day of school, and I was like, I know how I'm gonna be tough. I'm gonna be fucking, you know what I mean? I'm gonna walk in like, yeah.
It's like prison.
Yeah. I was just like, I don't give a shit about these kids. There was this kid who his nickname was he already had a nickname that sounded intimidating. It was Rumpy. Rumpy. Yeah. People that I grew up with, they're laughing their ass off right now if they're listening. Because they're like, oh my God, we know who he is.
Rumpy.
And he was just like, who is this kid? He knocked me out. And listen.
Just because you walked by him?
No, I was trying to be a tough guy. Just shuffling with everybody.
Okay.
Yeah, what's up? Oh, kiss my ass. You know what I mean? Like that kind of,
you had a step to you.
Yeah, right. They're like, who's this kid trying to be? I don't remember hitting the floor. Knocked me out. And look, as a child, I've been knocked out by a grown man. So Rumpy could punch. So
Rumpy.
Yeah. So I just remember consciously thinking like, oh, I can't, like, this is scary.
Right.
Like, I can't be the tough guy. You know what I mean? And I just started being silly. I just started being goofy. Okay. And I don't quite remember if there was like some kind of transition, but
to win people over.
Yeah, it was just like, you know what? I want to get along with people.
Okay.
And I don't know where the decision was made to just start making people laugh. And it started with me just going in and like doing impressions of like In Living Color. Like I would do Homie the Clown, and I would do like my favorite was The Business Card, David Alan Grier and Tommy Davidson, where they'd be like businessmen, they'd be con men, and they'd be like, bam, like that. I would do that to all my friends. It was so fun. I would turn in my homework like bam, like just in my teacher's face. I thought it was so funny. I would do bits at like lunch tables and shit, and just like I would watch Saturday Night Live. I would watch comedy movies.
Right on.
I saw Tommy Boy. I would go in immediately. I was Fat Man in a little coat. Like I was immediately that dude.
That's a great movie.
Oh, dude.
Classic.
So like
movie.
all that, you know, and I found love where everyone's like, oh yeah, just, you know, and I just was silly.
Yeah.
You know, and I kind of turned away from being mischievous, and that's a whole nother podcast, because I was a bad kid in middle school. Like I was bad. I'm talking like breaking into cars and like,
you were really bad.
Stealing oh gee. I mean, no, I was
you didn't hurt anybody, right?
No,
but you were a little fucking vandal.
Yeah. I was a little piece of shit. Everybody grew up at a time. Sometimes you were a little piece of shit for a couple of years.
Of course.
But you know what, man?
Some never grow out of that.
I know, right? That's what I tell my kids. I was like, you know those kids at school that are like mean? There's mean adults.
Yeah, exactly.
They become mean adults.
Exactly right.
You know, explaining to your kids like they're strangers and like dangerous people, you know? You're like, yeah, you know that like asshole in 3rd grade? Well, he's going to be an asshole who's a janitor one day.
Maybe.
Who knows?
Maybe.
He could become like, you know, a doctor or a senator. Who knows?
The president.
I know, right? You have no idea. Yeah. Life's not fair.
Life is
Bad guys win.
That's exactly right.
That
was a coping mechanism for you, right?
Yeah. Oh, absolutely, man. Absolutely. I mean, you know, you get that validation your whole life. You're just, you know, comedy is like, do you love me? Do you love me? Do you love me? Do you love me? That's all it is. And people got to be honest. Like I think, you know, I've been being honest. You got to be honest about that. That's kind of like part of how I came through all that, you know.
But
like
you say that's very similar to when you see these legacy bands that are still out there performing.
Oh yeah, right.
The money isn't the issue anymore.
Right.
Is it the adulation? Is that the word? Like they need that reaffirmation of their worth.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Or when you have thousands of people screaming when you play a song, and that's power, isn't it?
Absolutely. I mean, because what's being validated is literally what people don't understand about comedy. Why it's I don't want to say it's so hard, where like, because I know musicians say they want to be comedians and comedians want to be musicians, you know what I mean? So and I'm just like, you guys write songs and sing and play instruments, sometimes multiple. Like, kiss my ass.
There was Sam Kinison, you know.
That's true. But you know, when am I going to come out with a rock song, guys? You know, did he have Tawny Katan in his video too?
I think
something
he
like that.
did.
I think he did. Yeah.
For God rest her soul.
I think she rolled with him for a while. I think.
Didn't know that.
I think so. I've heard other comedians I know that rolled with him, and I think they mentioned Tawny Katan being around for a little bit. Yeah. I'm not that old, but I'm old enough and
I'm that old.
I'm
I remember
cultured
that
enough.
well. I remember that well.
Isn't that funny? I said I'm cultured, and we're talking about Tawny Katan. How funny is this shit?
She used to be something in her day.
Oh yeah.
She ended up marrying a pitcher and then kicking. They were driving down the road, and she kicked him in the leg with her heel and dug her heel into his thigh.
And he couldn't play Game 6, something like that.
I think.
That's
part of her history on Wikipedia.
Like he couldn't pitch.
Yeah, that was a thing. Yeah,
it's so bananas.
It is bananas.
What the fuck? Why are you talking about Tawny Katan? What happened?
Why not?
I know, right? No, dude. What you were saying about? Yeah. You're just saying like about how that's. I mean, we all deal with it that way. That's why every comedian says they have something trauma, or you see comedians, you go, well, okay, what was your thing? And it was either
it's a prevailing theme.
It was either like,
are there any normal comedians?
Yes, there are. I think about
Seinfeld.
Yeah, he was. Yeah,
I think of childhood.
I think of
pretty
people
normal?
like. I'm not sure, to be honest.
Okay.
I haven't dug into Seinfeld's history. I don't know why, but like I think of people like people that do like family comedy. You think like Louis Anderson. I've worked with Louis a handful of times.
Not Bill Cosby.
Yeah, no. But he wasn't abused. He talks about how his dad and his mom were amazing people.
Yeah. He was a funny guy.
So he's so funny. He's still.
funny
I think
guy.
he's filming a new special.
So he's still working.
Oh, dude, he's filming a special in Vegas. I think this week.
Okay.
Oh, he's still cracking.
Okay.
But like Louis, it's like, okay, what happened to you? You had a great upbringing. He had 10 brothers and sisters. That's the thing always.
Okay.
I could be wrong,
Okay.
but it's always like, what happened to you? And it's like abuse, your dad was alcoholic, something, your mom left you, whatever. Or you had 100 siblings. Like, it's like, it was
they
like...
probably were fighting for attention within that clan, right?
I think even Jim Gaffigan had like 9 brothers and sisters because he has 100 kids now too.
Okay,
whatever.
yeah, right on.
That's my theory. I don't know. Someone is immediately going to be like, no, what about this comic? So...
Well,
I don't know.
There's always an exception there.
But yeah, man, you can't deny what it does for us. It's our drug, it's our heroin, it's our counseling, it's our, what did T-Rob say? It's his therapy, man.
It's therapy.
Oh, he said something about that, about losing your therapist. That, I'm telling you what, man, the audience, just thinking about that makes me like really, I can't wait.
I bet.
I can't wait.
I bet. Because again, to someone who just is a fan of comedy, it's impossible for me to understand what it's like standing in front of those people, and then getting that reaffirmation back. I've played in front of people, but not. I've never done a stand-up routine in front of people.
It's it's rewarding in a selfish way because it's you did it,
right? Just
you.
Well, of course.
I mean,
absolutely.
That's what was so appealing for me to do it at one point. And I kind of want to finish your question because I want to. Sorry.
Well, no. Go ahead. But it was you decided to do this. You naturally started just making people laugh. You got out of school. Were you performing in high school?
Yeah. So that affirmation. Good post-it note pickup, Eric. Yeah. That's he's doing it, guys. It's the best.
I'm an amateur, folks.
Dude, I started doing that stuff and just making people laugh, and then I met some guys. People in Pittsburgh know him as director and writer of Pittsburgh Dad, Chris Prexta.
Yeah.
My tall 6'7" friend. He's the number one. I'm the 0 when we stand next to each other.
Oh my god.
Yeah. And,
that's pretty good.
He's like skinny 6'7", but he was like this. We took geometry together. And like started making each other laugh, like making each other's.
How could you not in geometry?
Yeah, I know, right? Just like doing sound effects and making each other laugh and shit. And he was doing video production.
Okay.
And then I kind of fell in with a couple of his friends, and we started doing videos together.
All right.
And because they invited me to youth group, I was this bad kid. Now I'm not here to give my testimony, okay? I'm just telling you where I am. I'm just telling you asked.
Okay.
No, I started going dude, I was a kid where I literally was wearing like, baggy Dickies and like hockey jerseys and like selling weed. You know what I mean? Like and they're like, hey, do you want to hang out at youth group with us, because there are these guys that shoot videos, and I'm like, these guys are fun, you know what I mean? And they are also like in theater at school,
right?
One of them, like
something constructive.
Yeah, they were doing like creative, like, and I was obsessed with movies.
Got it.
Like I was, like I said, growing up, I was, a latchkey kid, kind of,
right on.
When my mom, we got out of abuse, my mom worked 2 jobs. My mom worked her ass off, I just sat in front of movies, and I wanted to be a filmmaker. I wanted to be an actor. I wanted to be, Chris Farley. I wanted to be Bill Murray, So these guys were like, we're making funny videos. And I was like, well, yeah, this is great. I want to do this, And so they're like, oh, you want to hang out at youth group? I go to youth group because they hung out with all these girls. And I'm like, this is great.
That's a good reason to go to youth
Jesus
group.
sucked me in with women. Jesus used Bathsheba. Yeah. That's what, really. And so those guys, I got to be friends with those guys. And I stopped going, hanging out, in the woods, like drinking beer and looking at Playboys and sharpening knives, just being a little shithead. You know what I mean? I was like, oh, let's run around and make a video in this kid's backyard,
Right.
Then let's
That's a big change.
Oh yeah. It was just, I found this outlet, let's make videos to show at youth group, and I was like, okay, if anybody knows what that is, I don't know. It's just like, you go on a Wednesday night to a church and they have soda and cookies and some dude talks about Jesus for 20 minutes and then you hit each other in the face with dodgeballs for an hour. That's it. So, but I was in there. I wasn't out there riding my bike that I probably stole, because I couldn't afford a dyno. I stole that off Tim's porch. I literally named a kid I stole a bike off of. That's 100% true. But you know what I mean? Like that kind of, I started doing that stuff, making videos. And then these buddies I knew, they were trying out for the musical. Trying out for the play.
Right.
And once again, drama pulled me in with the women because it was my buddy was like, dude, come do the musical. There's no dudes that want to do it. There's 40 chicks that are doing it. Come, you know what I mean? And I'm 15, I'm like, yeah.
Didn't have to ask it twice.
Sure, whatever. Let's go hang out with girls and pretend to be actors. This is great.
That's all they do in Hollywood anyways.
For really, let's just be honest. It's for free food and ladies. Let's be honest. But no, it kind of caught me, and it was just that attention. Even that one part, in 9th grade in Crazy for You, when, my English teacher, who was also the drama teacher, knew that I was this dude who just couldn't sit down. He was like, you have 4 parts. You have 4 parts. And you have costume changes for all of them. And that's what I did, 4 parts. Wow. And they were the goofy characters. Mm-hmm. What was it? Harvey's, what was his name? Harvey Johnson's father, who was always yelling from off stage and stuff, and Crazy for You. All the musical people are like, I know it. But it was just stuff like that, and always getting the funny roles in the plays and the musicals, and and then doing videos.
Yeah.
And then making more videos, and then in high school, my junior and senior year, start winning awards for our films. I remember, dude, I'm gonna date our Pittsburgh friend Andrew Stocky.
Okay.
Andrew Stocky. I always have this memory with Andrew Stocky.
Sorry, Andrew.
No, this is great. No, this is great.
He's doing it.
And I think I told him this. But we won an award in high school, and Andrew Stocky was presenting the awards. I'm not saying he's super old, because he was a young dude, because he had to go out and give awards to high school kids, and he was like, "What's my job? I'm a journalist, damn it!" And they send Andrew Stocky out to give out an award to high school kids, but because he's he's a young journalist.
You still have it on your mantle?
No, I have no idea what happened to that. But I just remember sitting there with Andrew Stocky talking about James Bond for an hour.
Oh,
when I was in
on.
Because my gram was obsessed with James Bond.
Right on.
I love James Bond.
Which one you like?
That's Live and Let Die. I don't know why hangs with me.
No, not the movie. Which Bond do you prefer?
Oh, which Bond? Oh, I was literally. Oh, you know what?
Movies are irrelevant.
I love Bond so much that Connery. There's something about all of them that I do love. Daniel Craig, I just haven't. I don't know.
You haven't resonated.
I have not resonated with a 5'8".
Roger's a badass. Roger Moore looks like James Bond.
I was gonna say,
right?
Yeah. Oh no, absolutely. I love Pierce Brosnan. I love him. I liked him. But that was.
I can't get past that not Murder She Wrote. It was the TV show he was on. It was
Remington
Steele. I couldn't get the corniness of that. Then going to. I hear you. See, I was older. I lived
See, now Pierce Brosnan was my high school James Bond. So it was like new and fresh, like GoldenEye came out.
Was there somebody else in there too?
Oh yeah, there was Timothy Dalton.
Which
actually some good movies.
He was dark, like
a little bit. Like the Living Daylights. He did that, and I'm brain dead on that right now.
Roger Moore was a badass, though.
He was
I don't think he was that bright, but he was
he was smooth.
He was smooth.
I like how he was funny.
Oh,
so everyone was
Connery
different.
was smooth too.
But Sean Connery was my number one.
Really?
You know what I mean?
Over Moore?
Yeah, I think so.
Is that sentimental? Or is that for?
Yeah, maybe. My gram was obsessed with Sean Connery. Thought he was like a gorgeous man. You know, so I don't know.
Okay, was probably the accent?
Yeah, probably. Connery.
They made a movie called Octopussy.
Yeah.
How great is that?
I mean, how?
And they
what
said
is that?
It with a straight
67.
Roger Moore said no. I think it was a Moore movie, right? Late 70s.
Oh, it was. That was right after or before Spy I Love.
But he said it with a straight face. Like in the movie.
Octopussy. Yeah.
No, it wasn't Connery.
Connery.
Was it Connery?
I'm mixing them all up.
No, it was Moore.
It's because I'm sweating. He's hotboxing
It's hot
me.
as the sun.
No, because I get in that mode where I'm storytelling. I do this on my podcast all the time.
That's what long form conversation.
It's funny when you're like, I know, when you're talking and you're trying to flow, and then you try to remember trivia, and you're just like, wait, which James Bond was that? Because all my guests
work. Then see, it becomes work.
I know, and I feel like that's the one thing I apologize all the time to, like, my podcast listeners, where I'm just like, I'm so sorry that we're literally Google searching shit. Like, we're like, what is it? Because we don't have what's that dude's name? Jamie on the Rogan show?
Yeah, we all.
You literally have
what's wrong with us? We got to get one of those.
I know.
Where do we get one of those?
I'm going to have like an action movie. I'm going to have a guy in a van in like an earpiece where he's like Octopussy 1979. Roger Moore. You know what I mean? And he can turn all the lights green if I'm late, you know? Have a guy in a van. Kevin Hart probably has a guy in a van.
I'm sure.
Okay. Anyway, let's get back to the show, Eric.
Yeah, back to the show.
No, I was saying that I started doing all his videos in high school, and I thought, you know what, I want to be an actor. I want to be a filmmaker. I want to make movies. I was inspired.
You want to do all of it.
Yeah, I mean,
but it wasn't comedy then. It was more acting and filmmaking.
I was doing a lot of comedy, but it was all through filmmaking. It was all through video, sketch. You know,
right on.
And Chris Prexton and we both were like, well, we're going to go to film school. He was a year ahead of me, so I think he did like community college. But then we went to film school. Three friends at Point Park, and it was a weird time. It was 99, 2000. Where I know, so old.
Yeah, you're old, buddy.
I know, right? I know. I say that to everybody, and they're like,
"You're not even 40 yet, right? You're 39."
Yeah, I can't even say. I know, right? I know. People get so mad. I get mad. I go on stage and talk about like I'm old as shit, and people are, and then like old men in the back are like, "Kiss my ass."
I feel your age. That's how I feel about where you're at now.
Oh,
yeah, I mean, I'm not.
Is this
that
natural
age,
though to be in my 30s and feel like I'm 51?
No, that's some bad living there, buddy.
We can do a whole nother.
I'm sorry.
You're absolutely right. We'll do a whole nother half hour about how my body is broken. That if my body was a temple, it's rubble now, and Jesus is mad at me. Okay, that's I write that down. That's funny.
Are you treating it like a trash can instead of a temple?
No.
I'm asking.
I'm just giving it all. I'm giving it all to my family and work.
Giving it all to the Lord.
Yeah, Jesus needs to take the wheel.
He hasn't paid that bill.
Jesus needs to take the wheel for sure. I was doing videos and movies and comedy stuff like sketch, and we went to film school. And at that time, Point Park was literally 2 or 3 years before everything was donated by Apple.
Ah, that's right.
So
that's right.
It was if people in Pittsburgh.
That's right.
There was somewhere around 2003 or 4.
That's right.
Where Point Park just got a millions of
I remember
dollars.
2004, I think.
Yeah, they just completely became a digital film school.
Right.
And I missed that.
Okay.
We went the first year. I went the first year. Chris stayed a little bit longer. I went the first year, and it was all
Microsoft Movie Maker.
oh my! No, it's worse. So at this time, Chris and I were editing on Adobe Premiere, which was super new.
Yeah.
Which the church bought.
Right on.
So we were using the church's editing equipment to make our movies.
That's crazy.
But then at school, we learned linear editing. So
Right.
I was the last person in Pittsburgh to learn how to whip, like do the editing with the tapes and two tape. And
Are you
like,
glad you learned that, though?
I tell you what.
From a historical standpoint?
Yeah, it is weird. We could talk about that. How like I'm in a generation where I know what landlines are, but also I know how to use TikTok. That's weird, right?
That is weird.
We're a weird generation.
Yes.
I'm at the very end of like Gen X.
Is that what you are?
Yeah.
Okay.
Some people would say I'm millennial, but I think that those years skew. But I think it can be interpreted differently. I think Gen X and I think I'm more influenced by boomers and Generation X than I am by the millennials. Does that make sense? Because there are people around my age that fall literally. I can think of people that had graduated 2 or 3 years before me, and they're millennials. I worked with kids for a while.
Right.
It's a weird thing, and I think it has to do with
You're on the cusp.
Yeah, I think not to get into this weird conversation about generations, but I think it all has to do with where you're from and what culture you're around.
Certainly,
I feel like I got more boomer, more Gen X because we're from blue collar Pittsburgh.
Absolutely,
you got a lot more people going around in my day.
Had you been in LA, different story.
Yeah, right. I'd be walking around with a scarf and sunglasses indoors or something. You know what I mean?
I'd pay to see that.
I don't even know what that means, but everyone
Do you
gets
own
it.
a scarf?
Hell yeah. Sometimes you got to show up to
Next
a place
time
that's
you're
fancy.
here, you got to wear that. Wait, we don't rate a scarf?
No, you know what I'm talking about. You go to a fundraiser, Eric. Come on, you got to put a scarf and a sweater on like a grown-up. People are like, why do we invite this guy? He's just a dad who sits around his house. No.
Oh, my God.
Dude, I don't even know how far...
you going to Point Park? You graduated.
No.
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 Nice.
Eric.
Nice.
This is going to be a 4-parter.
Nice.
You're one of the only people that I want to give you the whole thing.
Yeah. I want it all.
I left Point Park.
Okay.
I left Point Park because, like I said, at that time, they weren't digital. We were at a time where we're learning digital. We were running around filming with a Canon XL1, which was a mini DV camera.
Yep.
And so we're learning how to edit that. We're learning how to capture that footage, and we're doing all that stuff very early on in 99, 2000.
Yeah, right on.
And honestly, because our church, and we had a friend with a cool camera. I mean, that's just, it was, we were very, fortunate to be able to, mess with that stuff.
Right.
And so
that's when 24p was a big thing.
Yeah. So we're running around, filming videos. I mean, the fact that you didn't have to run around with this huge camera with a Super 8,
Exactly.
Super VHS, these big,
Super VHS.
Yeah, dude. Yeah, now
old
head tech guys are like, yeah, dude. Remember those? They still film TV with them. You go on Pittsburgh Today Live and there'll be a big ass.
That's nuts.
It's crazy. But so we just were like, this sucks. Mm-hmm. Film school sucked. It was just, and of course, everyone hears what I'm saying. I'm not saying Point Park sucked. At the time, they did the right thing.
Did you feel like it was archaic because you knew what was out there?
They upgraded. All credit to them. They did.
But when you were doing it, you were like, this isn't the latest technology.
So all filmmaking was literally, they told us.
I got it.
Oh yeah. They told us, they were like, okay, so this semester, we're going to go into a dark room and learn how to develop film. And we were like, what? We were like, we make movies nonstop. We'll turn around a 10-minute movie in a week.
Yeah, I understand.
We're like, what the hell is happening? This is stupid.
Yeah.
And then I went in for acting as well.
Okay.
So then I started going to intro to theater and stuff like that. It was all this theory. It was all studying Shakespeare, and and all respect, I know now, Stanislavski, and and so I was just like, why aren't they talking about Bill Murray? I swear to God, I didn't know what acting and theater like.
Got it.
Because when I did theater in high school, it was like I don't know what those. I swear to God, I don't even remember half the plays I was in. Mm-hmm. I think Noises Off.
Got it. I get it.
I was just like having fun and remembering lines.
Theory, right? And history.
Well, then they're like, okay, well, you have to do 3 Shakespeare plays next semester. And I was like, do you guys want to see Fat Guy in a Little Coat? Or like, because like I didn't know what to do.
Yeah.
And so we were just like, let's keep making funny movies, and I didn't know what to do collegiately.
Got it.
I just was like, I don't want to learn this shit. And I feel like any filmmaking we've done, we've learned more. I was inspired by Robert Rodriguez's book, Rebel Without a Crew. Mm. He talked about how he made El Mariachi with no money, selling plasma.
Yeah.
I tell you what, that book, I had dog-eared, I had notes, I had pencil highlighted.
That was your education.
Yeah, man, that and our education was, so I left film school and I said, you know what, I want to go to college. At that time, I met my who was my girlfriend, who became my wife, and I just said, I want to go to college. I was still working with kids at that time. After I graduated, I started volunteering at youth group and working with kids over the summer. And I worked for an organization called MUSA. It's a Methodist United Social Agency. Social agency.
We don't do politics on this show.
Yeah, I know. No, it was really like an after school program in my neighborhood in Homestead, and it was just me hanging out with like little kids at like the park and like at the school and like helping kids with homework and doing really any inner city social work and ministry, you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And so because I always thought like, you know what, I was this kid running around, getting in trouble. And so I was like, why not spend time, getting to know kids and be a positive influence to them, you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And so when I decided to leave film school,
teaching them bad jokes.
Yeah, right. But honestly, it was like just being that kind of fun adult that like, they could be around and, they wanted to talk. I mean, that's just what it came, that's just what it was. And so I just decided to go into school for ministry.
Okay.
In 2000, my wife and I, at the time, my girlfriend, she was going to Penn State. And she, loved working with children and stuff like that. She wanted to work with children, even though she's like should have been a mathematician. My wife, she should have been a mathematician. Like,
okay,
she's so smart. She's my CFO. That's what I call her. She's my CFO.
Okay.
I just said, you know what? I want to do something for college. I want to get an education on something, and I feel like I can still make movies. I can still do some performing. At that time, I was doing a little improv.
Okay.
I started doing improv because I was doing sketch. I was doing live sketch.
Okay.
I hosted and wrote sketches for a variety show. Oh my God, I started the variety show in high school and hosted it and wrote sketches for that.
Okay.
I forgot about that shit. Yeah, I just forget so much shit. But so I was doing improv. I started improv at Friday Night Improvs when it was at the Pitt Theater in Oakland.
Okay.
My senior year, I remember going down there, and to this day, they're my closest friends in the world.
Right on.
People like Ben Mayer and Lou Stein and John Daly and when I was a kid trying to do improv, I didn't even know what it was then. I just knew that I could go in front of adults and be silly. But yeah, so I was doing all that stuff, and I thought I could still do that and, kind of go to college for, this. So I went to college, and I got a degree finally. I had to take 4 more years of college because film school did not transfer.
Oh, you got to be shitting me.
Oh, yeah. Why would this Christian school take film history as a class? Not even a humanities? Nope.
It's terrible. That's terrible.
So, yeah, I had to I had to take 4 more years of college.
Oh, that's terrible.
And, so I went, I got a degree in adolescent ministry and counseling, and I worked on a minor for theology that I didn't officially get. But throughout that time, like I remember like my first year or two, I went to Geneva College up in Beaver Falls.
Oh yeah, familiar with it.
And I went up there, and my wife transferred there as well.
Okay.
My girlfriend at the time, and she went into children's ministry.
Got it.
She wanted to work with kids, and she, I met her in church. She loved that idea, and she felt called to that as well.
Right on.
And so we did that. And and I think I remember like the first year or so, I really was just like, I immersed myself in like ministry, working with kids, really, one of the best things about that whole process, because people now are like, wait a second, because this is a thing that I always get, after shows, they're like, wait, so you're a pastor, but didn't you tell a weed joke? Didn't you say the F word? And I'm like, that's right, because Jesus has other things to worry about than swear words. That's what I always say. Jesus got bigger things to worry about than swear words.
True. I would agree.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, it was a thing where I never stopped performing and doing filmmaking.
Okay.
But I did get immersed in ministry, working with kids. I learned a lot. And what I was going to say is the best thing that I had in that time, learning about ministry, and literally, I mean, I took Latin, I took Greek, I wrote a 55-page paper on one verse of the Bible. Like, that's what's going to school for that. I mean, that's,
theology.
I did all that stuff. Don't remember a lot of it, but no, the best thing that I had was the men that were kind of my roommates. It was the men that we had one of the best things that this program did at Geneva College was that they had an accountability program, which is basically a small group. You were put in, like, we basically as ministry students, mostly youth, ministry, we're kind of putting in small groups of men for 4 years. And it's counseling. And one of the best philosophies they had was that you cannot heal other people until you heal yourself.
Right.
And it was that's what that 4 years was. And I know it. It was just sitting there with other men talking about our life and our struggles and encouraging each other to be better men, encouraging each other to live with integrity, whatever that means to you now, people. You know what I mean?
Right.
But that was that, and that really forming solid, relationships and learning how to be, authentic with people. Because I tell you what, when you try to go do a job where it's ministry, if people know what that means, some people don't know. They think you might be on a street corner, like, telling people to believe in Jesus. But what the ministry I was in was really, it was working with teenagers and making them feel comfortable with not only who they were, with being there for them if they had bad home lives, just steering them into a positive thinking, whether it be prayer or, you know what I mean? Like,
Absolutely.
If that worked.
Absolutely.
But I was never in the line of thinking, like, let's get these kids in and dunk them in a bathtub and they're all going to be saved.
Yeah.
I never worked for ministries like that, and I'm thankful, It was more about really, like, honestly, man, being Jesus to kids. That's what it was.
Got it.
Because people were like that for me. So I got that part. And so coming out of it, I went into ministry. I worked for mega churches. I've worked for inner city churches for a couple years. This was all in a period of 5 or 6 years. But that entire time, I was at Geneva. Chris Prexta was driving up every week, and we were writing a movie. We were writing a movie called Captain Blasto. It's the first movie we did.
Captain Blast.
Yeah. And we just thought, I dropped out of film school. He dropped out of film school.
It's perfect.
Yeah. I was at Geneva, though. I was an hour north, and we were, we wanted to write something. And he was just like, instead of spending money on film school, let's just spend money on making a movie.
A film.
And we'll learn how to make a movie. And we were like, all right. So we wrote Captain Blasto. And we filmed it in the summer of, like, what I want to say, 2001.
Damn.
I don't remember. It was definitely before 9/11. Summer 2001, I believe. Yeah, right before that. Through this whole time, I'm going to school for ministry. I'm working for some churches, working in ministry. He also worked in ministry too for years, working in kind of the creative side of ministry, and also with some of the work with kids and stuff like that. But we were like the fun guys. We worked together. So I told you I got to come back like 3 times because it's just so.
You're here. Let's hear it.
I know. It's such a crazy, I think speaking it out, because I don't, like, on my podcast, I don't say, like, here's what I was doing back in 202. You know,
let's go. Let's go.
So it's like it's a weird thing where I'm like verbalizing it. I'm like, well, yeah, this was an interesting time. You know, like,
well, it's good to flesh that out, right?
Yeah, it was. So like at that time, like me and Chris are writing a movie. I'm going to school for ministry, living with like a bunch of roommates who are becoming pastors and youth pastors.
Okay.
But then I'm also, I'm also running like a landscaping company to make money because my mom don't got no money. I'm paying for college, baby. I'm paying $90,000 a year to Geneva College. Not $90,000 a year. $90,000 in loans. Sorry,
got it.
I'm sorry.
Total. Still a lot of money.
I know, right? So like I'm doing that. I'm doing like a landscaping company. I'm trying to make my own money. And we're making movies. We made this movie, and by the time I was out of college. Our movie toured film festivals all over the country. It played Mann's Chinese Theater in LA.
Crazy. That's crazy.
It's just and we're like 22, and I'm in, it was crazy. It was it definitely solidified, that Chris is a filmmaker. Like he's a director, and for me, it started making me realize more. Like we produced it and wrote it together, and it made me realize like I'm a performer. Mm-hmm. Like I want to be an actor. I want to be a performer. And at that, that really like I loved producing, but it was hard on us too. We were young dudes, trying to make a movie with no money. We raised $7,000 to make this movie. Money. Oh, in 2000, it was a lot of money. Mm-hmm. We took all of our short films and we rented Lowe's Theater at the waterfront, and we sold out, I think, 2 500. I think it was like one 500 seat, and then we did another showing after that. It was like 300-400 or something.
Wow!
And we just showed an hour of our short films, and people came in the theater, and that's how we raised a lot of our money. But then cashing in every single resource we ever had. I mean, literally, Chris's now wife was one of our producers. She's like returning electronic equipment and like extension cords to Best Buy. Like we would have like 100 people like filming and like all this stuff, and we'd be like, go buy 20 extension cords and then we'll return them tomorrow, and we would do that shit. I mean, she was amazing. Shout out to Ashley, Chris's wife. All
right,
she was the best. But so we did that. We did film festivals. I'm still doing ministry. Yeah. And I was doing a lot of creative stuff with Chris, doing ministry at a big church called Northway up north. Yeah. In Wexford. We were basically the creative guys for their student ministry. It was it was starting to blow up. Okay. That's when that church really started to blow up. I mean, it was basically me and Chris on microphones in front of like 600 kids. Wow. Every Sunday night. So we were kind of like the VJs of like, of like these, kids coming to have a good time and just be in a positive environment, Right. And so we were doing that also. And then I'm still doing ministry, still like building retaining walls on the side, full-time ministry, making no money, which is why I'm building retaining walls. But I love hanging out with kids. They're, it's just to have a positive impact is amazing, and to have kids just like to make them laugh, dude. Yeah. Like to just have kids leave their houses, and whether it be like poor kids, rich kids, everybody got problems.
It's therapy.
So it was that thing where, I was doing that, but I was also working for an organization called Pittsburgh Youth Network. Okay. Who then became Pittsburgh Leadership Foundation. Okay. And I was doing camps with them. This sounds weird to some people but we were doing outreach camps for kids. So basically we would take kids, churches would bring their kids to this camp, and we would just have a party. Right on. Like we would just have dances and we would have skits, and basically I did this for almost 5-6 years solid. Got it. Where every summer I would do a weeks in Michigan at Lake Michigan, and then in the fall I would do weekends at some camps in Pennsylvania, and really like it was organizations like Young Life, if you heard of that before. I have. They would just bring at-risk kids, right, and just like meet them with counselors and stuff like that. And hey, look, I know a lot of people have some bad things to say. Everything good has bad people in it.
Well, I mean, the optics. Well, you have one sliver of bad in a group of people.
Right. Well, it's hard because as soon as, and not that I'm like, listen, I'm not defending like Christians and Christianity because I don't want anybody to call me that name sometimes. So
yeah, right on. I get that. I totally get that.
But I like Jesus. That's my statement of faith.
Okay.
That's my statement of faith.
I like JC.
I like Jesus. Jesus got some good ideas. I don't know what else to tell you.
I'm with you.
But I
I'm with you
also,
on that.
so I did that too. And so we were doing sketches, original sketches. This was all while I was at Geneva, while I was cutting grass. I was the busiest dude ever in my 20s, just like nonstop. I've always said I've never done cocaine because someone injected it with me when I was born because I like going, you know. I'm sitting here sweating and it's the middle of the daytime. Yeah. But I was doing all that stuff, and one of the things that I did that really solidified me wanting to perform for a living was I filmed this. The next independent film we worked on was with some friends of ours, and it ended up being called A Great Disturbance, which is a Star Wars kind of like phrase.
Disturbance in the Force.
Yeah, right, exactly. And so our friends they were making some documentary films. They asked me and Chris Prexta to come and say, they were like, we're filming a documentary about Star Wars fans at the big celebration, Star Wars celebration.
Okay.
And so they were like, you guys are filmmakers, you're our friends. You know, we go way back. You know, they were friends from when we grew up, and they lived elsewhere now. And they're like, hey, you can come to Star Wars Celebration for free, and all you got to do is film interviews with Star Wars fans, and like kind of, you know, man on the street them, you know, like just talk to Star Wars fans because they want to make a documentary about Star Wars fans, right? Well, at that time, you know, me and Chris, we were doing film festivals, we were jonesing, you know, we were to make something else. Yeah. And at that time, I found the BBC Office, which I was always just watching all kinds of independent comedy, love Monty Python, following British comedy, great. And so like around, I mean, this was like 2000 when it came out, maybe like 2004. You know, I showed my roommates from college the BBC Office. And they were like, what the fuck is this? They're like, this is the funniest shit we've ever seen. You got to watch it on subtitles, you know, because it's just British people like, oh, you fucking made thanks, and then fuck you, bye, nice, mate. You know,
it's hard. It's hard to
You'll so it was like the funniest thing in the world, and I loved improv. I was obsessed with, you know, Christopher Guest. You know, like when you heard that, like, you know how much people improvise in movies, and Bill Murray improvised all of Meatballs, you know, and I, you know, and I'm like, oh man, this is amazing. And, you know, Ricky Gervais improvising or writing, who knows what he's doing. It's just,
I don't think he knows what he's
brilliant,
doing.
Right?
Yeah.
And so I started like watching Spinal Tap again, and, you know, me and Chris started talking, and we're like, so we went to our friends and we're like, hey, they're like, why don't you film us? Why don't you let us be characters? Let us be real people and interact with Star Wars fans. So we pitched this to those guys. I remember sitting in Chris's old apartment in Squirrel Hill, and we're like, wait, so we're going to do a mockumentary.
A mockumentary.
And we're like, yeah. Like, you play this, like, we play nerds. Quote unquote. Guys, I have a room.
This is sounding familiar to me.
I have a room covered with movie posters and Star Wars posters, okay? So when I call people nerds who like Star Wars, I knew exactly.
From experience.
I know what that means. Right. I mean, me and Chris Prexta slept out for Phantom Menace. That's how bad it is, okay? Ooh. Yeah, I know, right? We were children, Eric.
Yeah, you can't get those hours back.
Yeah. We pitched that, and they were like, yeah, dude, this sounds fun. So we came up with these characters like Aaron. I'm going to be this chubby dude who, you know, who's in his 20s, 30s, who lives with his mom, who like is a computer guy, and who's like confident. Like I was kind of the David Brent. I kind of got inspiration from that.
Got it.
Chris was a history teacher who played RPG board games.
I got it.
You know, we had another dude who was a dude who never left his hometown and homemade his costume. Like, and the director and the producer, they played two frat boys.
All right.
Who were closet Star Wars fans.
Okay.
And then we had a girl in it that we met. She was kind of like, she was the femme trooper. She's a girl who like is a female stormtrooper, and we kind of made this like, you know, weaving story throughout, but it was really me walking around this convention, improvising with strangers.
Okay.
Like, and I don't want to, and I say this lightly, like, but we were like doing like kind of like a Borat thing before that.
Before Borat, right.
You know, just walking around like I'm this made up character, and you just stay in character. You just stay. And the whole end of the movie is improvised because I blew my knee out in the movie.
Oh, get out.
So the whole end of the movie, which was just, it was one of those improv magic, because I literally blew my knee out at the final dance party at the convention. It was just, I don't know, you got to go watch it.
Okay.
But that's what we did that. And
Okay.
fast forward, I like talking about it because it's one of my...
That got released. I mean,
Yeah, it was one of my favorite things I've ever done,
I think I've
honestly.
seen it. It's jogging my memory.
Well, I threw it around everywhere. But what happened was so these guys, they put it together. And so since we, they already had documentary films about like role-playing and dice games, like board games and stuff. And so they knew this circuit of Comic-Cons and this circuit of nerdy conventions. And they just started sending this movie, which eventually became A Great Disturbance.
Right.
Which is, now you understand the title.
Yes, I do.
It's like, it's like a double entendre kind of pun.
Right.
I don't know what the...
Right.
And it just started going to these like Comic-Cons and just like, in Auditorium 2 at the convention center.
Right.
At 10 p.m. tonight, we're showing this fan film mockumentary called A Great Disturbance, right? And then the director would be like, hey, they sold out this show and they want to do another one tomorrow night. And we were like, wow, that's crazy. Like, he's in, Indianapolis or whatever. And we're like, wow, that's crazy. Like, that's cool, And then we did a couple conventions, and then they printed DVDs. Mm-hmm. And then they sold 10,000 DVDs, and then and then they were like, at this time, I was a full-time youth pastor.
Got it.
So they let me go away and film this movie, right? Where I'm just this obnoxious dude walking around smoking clove cigarettes. So stupid. And it starts going to these, Comic-Con festivals, and
did you have legal representation and all that stuff?
No, we were kids making movies. No. We're going to LA, like we're doing these, we ended up it went to San Diego Comic-Con really early on before it even got
right on.
Our movies were there before Comic-Con was like a toy thing. TV convention. You know what I mean? It was still nerds.
Right.
And so that Great Disturbance, because you hit the fans right where they're at.
Of course.
We're fans making a movie about us.
It's called target marketing. We
didn't know that. We were just like, this makes us laugh our ass off. So it was like, you guys got to come to these screenings. I mean, they're like, where's Phil at? Like, I played this character named Phil Rawls, and like, they're like, where's Phil? Like, Phil, and so like we started going.
Did you go in character?
No. I mean, like we started going to these things, and I remember standing in the back of this auditorium, and there was like 500 people there to watch our movie.
Damn.
And I'm like. And he was telling us, like, people fucking like this, man. Like, you're funny. And I'm watching this. I'm watching me on the screen, and I'm watching now, look, we made Captain Blasto. Like, we've been doing it. We've been doing it.
Yeah.
But Captain Blasto was like our friends and family. It was like, a lot of people saw it. We went to film festivals, and, people clapped for it.
I get it.
And, but this was like, it was me on screen being a funny character in a movie.
Got it.
And the crowd just, like, roaring. Laughing. And I was like, oh, I'm sorry, Lord, but this feels good. Like, like I just, it was just like, whoa, like, I'm okay. I think I'm okay at this.
I'm okay with this, yeah.
Like, I think I can do this,
Right.
And so then, after I did that movie, I was kind of unhappy with the bureaucracy and organization of just organized nonprofit church, stuff. It's really hard to work for a nonprofit.
Yeah,
and
no
it's
kidding.
Shout out to everybody.
No kidding.
And I'm not talking churches. I'm not talking Christians.
Any nonprofits.
Nonprofits are hard to work for.
No question.
I spent a whole year raising my salary. Mm-hmm. That's worse than working on commission, Eric.
Right. I'm with you.
It's worse. You're literally calling people like, "Hi, I'm working for." It's hard. So, and my wife and I wanted to start a family. Mm-hmm. We didn't have health insurance.
It was time.
We were I was. So I came up with a plan. I thought, what can I do to be an actor? Like, how do I do this? And I kind of transitioned out of ministry, and I needed a day job. So I thought, what can I do that's the closest thing possible to just being kind of creative?
Porn.
I've always been, right? Like, I've always been creative. I I've always, worked with Chris, on all the creative and, doing, videos and, we were doing graphic design work for our programs at our nonprofit, at our churches. We were just doing all this creative stuff. We were just they had their own creative agency, literally.
Wow.
Of me and Chris Preston.
They certainly did. They certainly did.
It was a good investment.
They weren't too happy when you left.
It was a good investment then. I do. I transitioned into marketing and advertising. Because I thought, I looked into it and like writing ads and writing copy and things like that. And I thought maybe I'll transition into that. And so as I transitioned into that, I worked a couple random things. I was like a creative director at a boutique ad agency writing radio ads for for Pizza Hut for Pizza Outlet at the time.
Okay.
I was writing, I was producing and editing on hold ads.
Okay.
Like, when you get put on hold at Pizza Hut, it would literally like be me being like, try out the new like I was doing the voice.
You were that guy?
And I was and I was hiring people, like so funny, like newscaster. I always think of Kim Gable. She's a newscaster.
Yeah,
I hired her for voiceover work back in the day, like people
crazy.
like that. So I did that, and then I did creative marketing and promotions for Sandcastle.
Oh, right on.
And I helped them work on Scarehouse a little bit. Scarehouse. I did work for Scarehouse, but no, on their haunted thing at Kennywood.
Got it.
And so I worked on that, but in the whole time I was doing my own sketch comedy at this point.
Oh, right.
Two of my buddies, John Pitcher and Chris Cord, we formed a comedy group called the Esquires. This was like 2006.
Okay.
This is just when Great Disturbance came out, so I'm like, I'm going to form a sketch group with my boys. We did some live shows for, like a year.
Okay.
And then I decided, well, if I'm going to be a comedian, if I'm going to be Bill Murray, I got to go to Second City. That's what I got to do.
Chicago, right?
Yeah. I was like, I got to do that.
That place fascinates me. It's a comedic school.
I honestly, I didn't go enough to like really,
You didn't go to class.
Yeah, no. Well, here's the thing. So you have to go on, like at that time you had to go and audition to be accepted into their program, into their conservatory, right? And my very good friend Missy Moreno, she was already in it at that time. She was like probably in her second year of it, living in Chicago. I mean, the funniest woman I've ever met in my life, right here in Pittsburgh. Went to high school with us, did plays with us, all from Still Valley. I mean, three of the funniest people, we all went to high school together.
That's crazy.
It's crazy.
That's crazy.
And all did, yeah, it's crazy. But, I was very inspired because she was going for it.
Okay.
Funniest woman I've ever met in my life. She was, I was like, she's going to be on Saturday Night Live. Like, I was like, I want to do it too. We can do it. One of my comedy partners, John, he was like, I'll go. He lived with me and my wife. It was us three as roommates. And we were like, let's go. We're going to go.
Okay.
And it was like, next year, we're going to try to move to Chicago. Well, I kind of, at that time, I was so busy. I was making movies. I was like, I wanted to be an actor now. And I kind of like forgot that my wife had dreams too. You know what I mean? And it's kind of like, we're not moving to Chicago. We're not. Like, just, And at the time...
That was her telling you?
Yeah, I mean, it was just like, it was a hard thing to do.
Of course.
And so it was just like, well, what do you want, honey? Like, what do you want? She's like, I want a house and a baby. Like, we need a, And I was like, you know what? You're right. Like, I want that with you too. Let's do that. So we couldn't move to Chicago.
Okay.
So I first went out for an intensive. I went out one summer. I was working in Michigan in the camps, and on the way home, we went and took like a week-long intensive or a weekend intensive.
Okay.
And we were like, all right, this is cool, right? So then I was just like, well, I just want to enroll in a class.
All right.
I ended up doing like 2-3 classes and driving back and forth to Chicago. For like 11 months.
Wow. Really?
So, yeah. It's stupid.
Wow.
But I tell you what, it was, what I did understand, the couple things that I did do, was that just like, it really opened my mind to how comedy was more of a science, that there was like an engineering to it. That it was like, and it was also what really, really struck me about learning about comedy is how much it was about me personally.
Like, what do you mean?
My strengths, my weaknesses, the things that I was afraid of, like those things, using those things to just channel energy and like, you know, create characters and like, you know, like them saying, be a character you would never be.
Okay.
You know, learning those things, like learning to give up and just let everything out on stage of who you are, and you know, just like.
So they're not teaching you to be funny there. It's more about delivery.
A lot of no. And I would say the other thing is lots of technique. I mean, learning how to do improv. You know, I took a sketch writing class. You know, I took movement. You know, literally like learning little bits of how clowns train, things like that.
So the
like
mechanics of it.
Yeah, like literally putting to like words what Chris Farley does.
Got it.
And how he uses his physical body and things like that. And you learn that more and kind of like when you put words to it, or you kind of, when someone points it out, you're like, I do that too.
Yeah.
Like that's what that is?
Yeah.
Yeah, you're not, you know, you're using your body because you're not confident in what you're saying, and you're like, what? Like, you know. So it was like NASA for comedy, the little bit that I got.
Wow. Okay.
You know. So it was I got a little bit, because I could never, like, it's a thing where Second City is so prestigious, I cannot claim it as a credit. I will not say like Aaron Kleiber from Second City Chicago, because I know people that really done it. They really, you know, I took some classes. I did, you know, it's like some people that say like, I went to CMU, a couple finance summer classes, you know, and it's like, chill out, bro.
I walked through the lobby.
Yeah, right. You know what I mean? Like, I know people that I almost grab that hand as a drink.
The hand.
Yeah.
See, our guests have hand here.
And that's funny. I'm sorry for rambling so hard.
No, this is good. This is what I want. This is what I want.
But it's thanks for.
That's what I want.
I'm talking about it because I'm like, I haven't talked about this in years.
Well,
like, I haven't thought about the process of what I went through.
That was the launch of your stand-up?
Not quite.
Okay.
So what happened was I kind of ran into just beauty and tragedy all at once.
Okay.
So like in the summer of 2008, my roommate, people from Pittsburgh may have heard this story, and I want to give it respect because it's not my story. Mm-hmm. My comedy partner, he lost two of his brothers at the same time. It was a water accident. And they have a skate park in Carnegie called Pitcher Park, named after him, if people in Pittsburgh know. Mm-hmm. And, you know, he was my comedy partner. And in 1 month, my wife and I, he still lived with us. We bought our first house.
Okay.
Well, we bought our first own house because I kind of had my mom's house before that. Like,
right,
you know.
Right.
We bought our own house. We closed on our first house. It was like June 12th. My first child was born 6 weeks early on June 24th.
Oh my.
And then on July 11th, my buddy's little brothers died. My roommate, my comedy partner.
Okay.
His brothers died. All in the same month. I had my first child, bought my first house, and had, you know, two guys that were like family, you know, die. And my best friend's brother. So it was like all of that.
Wow.
So that, you know, he had to immediately take care of his family. I had a baby and a new house, you know, and I thought, how am I going to do comedy? Like, how am I going to do this? And I was still working in marketing a little bit. That's how I was making a living. That's how I bought a house.
Right on.
Because I had a legit job and had a credit score. You know what I mean? Like, and I was actually paying my school loans on time at that time. You know what I mean? And so I, you know, I lost my comedy partner. It was me, my wife, and baby. And I thought, all right, if I'm gonna do this, I gotta, you know, I just gotta do it here. And it's up to me.
Right on.
Like if I'm gonna do it, I gotta do it. And I
got it.
I told my wife, I said, I really want to do this. I want to be an actor. You know, I want to be a comedian. I want to be a comedic actor. I don't know how else to do this. So I got a job. I got a job that I could go on auditions and stuff. You know what I mean? Because what happened was I had to quit my last real marketing advertising job. I was doing the radio ads and like writing all that stuff and for this little boutique agency. Yeah. And I started going on auditions, and I was doing student films, just getting my reel up. You know what I mean? Like, if anybody, you want acting advice, if you want to be an actor, act in everything. Go on Craigslist, Just make sure they're not going to take you into some woods in Beaver County or something, or, and you know what I mean? Like, check your safety. You know what I'm saying? But that's how I did it.
It's like literally comedy too, right? That's why you do all the...
Yeah, right. You do all the open mics, all the bars, everything.
Right on.
So, like, 100% advice. Go do those student films.
Got it.
Get your chops in front of a camera. Feel like what a set feels like,
Right.
So I was doing all that and just auditioning, just like whatever's happening,
Okay.
And I auditioned for this. It was this TV cable movie that was being made by a Pittsburgh filmmaker. Sorry, I just spit.
We do that here.
But I'm vaccinated, baby!
Right on.
Eric and I can spit on each other now.
Not recommended.
Well, it's back to
but it could happen.
It's back to our normal consentful relationship.
Yeah.
We're nasty. We spit on each other. I hate and love you. That don't make no sense. People are crazy.
The Greeks do that, I hear.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I auditioned for this thing, and it was, and they were like, oh yeah, no, like this is a legit movie. They want you to play like the young, like chubby kind of, silly husband of, this famous girl. I don't know if you ever heard of Sabrina Bryan. She's from the Cheetah Girls. And I was like, what? Like, I was literally like, I got cast in a legit movie.
Yeah, right on.
At that time, they're talking like ABC Family or something.
Oh, right on.
I'm like, what? So I get this movie that I was the husband of Sabrina Bryan from the Cheetah Girls. She went on to be like Dancing with the Stars. It had Richard Kind, Steve Guttenberg, and Rondell Sheridan, and a couple Pittsburgh actors that people know and love. Adrian Weir, Patrick Jordan. And I met all those people, Robin Parrish, Pittsburgh actors who were, I was in this movie, and I was this Second City, wannabe SNL, kid who was a new dad, and I'm surrounded by legit actors, and then the other ones are legit theater trained, Patrick Jordan, bare bones production, one-man show performer of the year. You know what I mean? Like, and I'm like, well, I know Bill Murray, Joe. Like, I want to be Steve Martin. Like, it was so intimidating. We're like, where did you study? And I was like, in Living Color, middle school. So I was super intimidated, and I had to quit my job.
Wow.
I had to quit my job. They were like, oh yeah, we're filming for a month. And I was like, and they were like, and you're in like 17 scenes. And I was like, oh, okay. And they're like, and whatever. It was like, you get paid,
scale
$1,000 a week. Yeah, it was like it was crazy low,
right?
Because they spent all their money on Richard Kind, and Steve Guttenberg. You know what I mean? So, but I had to quit my job.
Wow,
and I was like, this is crazy. I had to quit my job.
Yeah,
and it was nuts.
That's what people don't get about filming.
Yeah, it was, and so I did that. And right after that, this was like, now we're getting into the spring of 2009, right? Mm-hmm. Now, before I filmed that movie, I'm forgetting my own story, Eric.
That's a bad thing.
Before I filmed my movie, that first one I did, like the legit, whatever.
Right.
Like I guess I'm a real actor now. At the end of 2008, I didn't know what to do creatively. I didn't have my comedy partner. I started writing, more, writing a movie again, writing movie ideas, TV ideas, because it was just me and my wife and my baby, And so I remember there was a great Pittsburgh actor who's in our movie, Captain Blasto, named Sam Nicotero.
Yeah.
Yeah. He had an amazing role in The Crazies, and he's
been related to Frank.
What's that?
Is there Frank?
Yes. That's where we're getting to Frank.
Okay.
And Sam Nicotero was like a mentor, just
right on.
Always was talking to me about old Hollywood, and because I got to act with him in our movie. Like this old actor who was in George Romero movies was in my first movie, and I'm 21.
Right on.
And we're like, pizza's for lunch again. And he's like, what the fuck? Like these stupid kids. Like he hated us. Like, but he loved us. He loved acting. He loved acting.
That's great.
And just God, talking to him about acting, and I'm trying to produce this little movie, and he's telling me how to act. I'm like, I don't know what the hell I'm doing, Sam. But anyway, Sam, I was doing these Whose Line Is It Anyway shows, and I was doing these murder mystery shows and these Italian wedding shows on the Gateway Clipper, and Sam.
Oh yeah,
dude. I was in all of them doing improv.
Right on.
And Sam was in them too. He played the old guy in all of them.
Got it.
And Sam is like, Aaron, you got to do stand-up, dude. He's like, Sam's like, you got to do stand-up.
Right on.
He's like, here's my son's email address, Frank Nicotero. Email Frank, ask him stand-up advice. Which I'm sure Frank was like, thanks, man. Thanks, Dad.
Thanks, Dad.
Yeah. But
Thanks,
dude,
Dad.
I tell you what, man. I remember emailing once or twice with Frank, and him telling me just like, write what's funny, you know, blah blah blah. And then it was like, you know, that 2008, it was a hard year. I didn't know what to do.
Yeah, the economy sucked then too. The housing market collapsed.
But we bought a house
At the right time.
the right time.
Yeah.
We bought it in 08.
Yeah.
We got that Obama tax credit. That was that golden year. Well, no, we had to pay it back.
Oh.
Remember, it was that year that like you got like $500 every year.
Oh, yeah.
And then you had to pay it back. And then the
Yeah.
very next year, everyone got it for free.
I know.
And I was like,
you got
oh,
screwed.
shit. I've been paying that back out of my taxes for like 10 years. Anyway, but it was a great stimulus for us. It really was.
No question.
It really helped me.
I bet.
It like, if you want to talk about like literally the government helping, that tax credit
It's
for
an
buying a
example
house
of it, no question.
is an example where I was able to
No doubt.
start a new career
No doubt.
because, you know, we were able to float on that. You know,
Right
we were
on.
able to, you know, does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely.
And we were able to fix up our house the way we needed it at the time when
Absolutely.
I had a baby. And so changing careers was tough, though. I mean, I was doing favors. I was,
bet.
you know, cutting grass for friends. I was like, I know how to build a retaining wall, you know, like doing that. And, you know, and so it was Christmas break, 2008, December 29th, 2008.
Okay.
Frank Nicotero had a weekend of shows at Corner Cafe on the South Side. He emails me that week, like, Merry Christmas. He goes, hey, I'll be in town. My dad's coming to see me perform. Have you been writing stand-up? Come do stand-up. And I was like,
Had you been writing stand-up?
I mean, yeah. I was like, Frank, I was like, I don't know how to do stand-up.
Okay.
I was like, I can't come do like 5 minutes. I can't. Well, you're crazy. And he was like, dude, he goes, you've been improvising for years. You just come up and say what you think is funny. See what happens. I said, all right. So I go and I do it. And then there's other people there and they're like, hey, come do this again next weekend, you know? And I was like, all right. So I did Frank's show, you know, all his family there and everything. And it felt good.
Yeah, right on.
I was like, okay, all right. But it was weird still. It felt good, but I didn't like it.
okay.
It didn't make sense to me.
Okay.
Because how I was doing stand-up, the first couple times I did stand-up was, basically it was like at Corner Cafe like 2 times. And then I went and did, I think, like 2 open mics at Smiling Moose. And then I stopped. It was just like, I did not like it. Because when I did it that couple times, you know, with Frank and a couple open mics, I was like writing all these jokes on note cards.
Okay.
And I was trying to remember jokes like, you know, like Carson's cards, like an interviewer. You know, I'm trying to remember these index cards. And I just was like, you know, I've done theater in high school. I can't for shit remember dialogue.
Really?
I cannot listen. If you're gonna cast me, come on, kiss my ass, okay? I can do it in takes, okay?
Okay.
But if you tell me a monologue, you better hire a coach. So
Really?
yeah,
That's interesting.
but I can remember an hour of material.
Yeah, obviously.
I don't. But here's what it is: it's blocking.
Okay.
It's blocking. If
Okay.
anybody understands what that means,
Yeah.
I would not remember my lines until blocking and dress rehearsal.
Understood.
Until I started, like, after I open this door, I say these 3 things.
Got it.
You know what I mean?
Yep.
It's like after I
Yep.
walk over to the couch, here's my
Yep.
lines. You
Yep.
know? I know, like, Sally moves over here. It's my turn. That's how I kind of, you know, so I couldn't do it. I could not
shit.
remember it that way. I'm like, how the fuck am I supposed to remember this? Like, dialogue. This sucks. It doesn't feel natural.
Okay.
And I just, like, I did it a couple times, even though Frank was like, keep doing it. You know what I mean? That's what it is, you know, blah, blah, blah. And I was like, it just wasn't, I don't know. It wasn't, I don't know. Like, I did filmmaking, I did sketch, I did improv. But
Didn't feel right?
stand-up was that thing that felt foreign to me.
Okay.
You know, it was just like, it's by myself. It's weird.
I get
It's
it.
nerve-wracking.
I get it.
I always relied on other people.
I get
you
it.
know. So then it's the spring of 2009. I get that movie. You know, and I have a little conversation with Rondell Sheridan about stand-up. You know, and I'm like, oh, cool, man. He does stand-up. He tours the country. That's cool.
Right.
That's okay. That's cool. Then immediately 2 weeks later, I do another audition, and I'm not doing stand-up. Like I said, I did it 3 or 4 times.
Okay.
Spring of 2009, I do this movie. Now it's called Help Me, Help You. directed by Ravi Godse.
Okay.
He's this Indian doctor from Pittsburgh who makes independent films. I think still making.
All right.
Anyway, so I get cast in the movie Warrior. Joel Edgerton, Tom Hardy, Gavin O'Connor directed Miracle, and I was like, oh shit, he directed Miracle. This is crazy. And nobody knew who Tom Hardy was kind of then. It was just after he did the movie Bronson. He got a lot of acclaim.
Yes.
Warrior is also the movie where Nick Nolte got nominated for an Oscar for Best Supporting Actor for being their dad. So, long story short,
where'd that film at?
I filmed a lot of my stuff in Peterson Event Center and in Atlantic City, and then they filmed a couple things in the desert because they did Iraq War stuff, but they filmed almost all of it in Pittsburgh.
I'm trying to. I wonder if I talked
summer
to a fight.
Summer of '09.
Fight coordinator.
Did you interview? Oh no. Who did James Hoke, fashion designer?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's where I met James. Yeah, shout out to James, dude. What's up,
brother? Who's the MMA fighter? The trainer, the gym owner. Wasn't he training Hardy for that movie?
I know what you're talking about. I did
Hibbler?
not. I don't know the name.
Okay.
Because I was not in that little
Eric
camp.
Hibbler. Yeah.
Okay. I know the name. The name sounds familiar.
Yeah, he did the show too.
Okay. Well, they must have been filming all those scenes.
Worlds are colliding.
Yeah. Well, I mean, yeah. They did all the scenes at some gym.
That's it. That's Eric Hibbler's gym he had at the time.
Yeah.
And
the
that's how
name
I
sounds
met
familiar.
James Hoke. They're best of friends.
That's how I met James. Love James.
Got it.
Yeah.
James,
what
a solid guy.
Since James had experience fighting, he was the cut
James
man.
done a lot of things.
Oh, amazing.
Amazing guy.
Amazing creative.
No doubt.
Amazing. Inspiring.
Yep, no doubt.
But yeah, that's where I met him. I mean, oh gosh. I mean, I met so many people doing that stuff because the people that were getting the roles with lines were legit people. They were, and there were quite a few people that got some chances in that movie too, like myself.
Yeah, right on.
And so long story boring. I go, and they're like, your cast is they want to make you one of the people in the corner with one of the fighters.
Okay.
I was a little bit skinnier, a little more fit, doing more sit-ups. I was, looked like a D6 linebacker.
Right on. D6.
Yeah, I was okay, and I was trying to look pretty for acting. And we went to this casting meeting, right, where they were measuring us for, they take you in, they measure you, and then they kind of had all these. It was like 20 dudes that all came at the same time, and all the wardrobe stuff was all at the event center. They set up there because they were kind of closed for the summer for this movie. And they just kind of pulled all these dudes and they started asking us questions like it was another casting session, but we were already hired. And really, we were just hired as an extra at that point.
Got it.
You know what I mean? We were just report to, I didn't really have an agent now. I think I was with a different agency in Pittsburgh. Now I've been with Deb Doherty forever, and Jared Pasco, my agent. I love them with all my heart. Make a Pittsburgh boy feel famous when they get me shit. But so I didn't know what was happening, and so they started asking, hey, is anybody, bodybuild? Is any of you guys fighters? Anybody ever box? Anybody speak Russian? Shit like that. Really, they're looking for featured people, featured actors, whatever, to plug in different places.
Sure.
And I was like, I do accents, just whatever. And I don't want to. Every time I tell this story, I tell this story, I know people are like, do it, but
do it.
But and at that time, my resume was a comedy resume. I was like, I do all these accents, and and let's be honest, it was a time too where I was a young comedian. And I'm doing every single accent. You could do accents, you'd and not worry about, doing it in a way that offends some. No joke. I get it now.
Welcome to 2021.
Well, I tell you what, man, I've grown in a way comedically where I get it, where it's characters when I was growing up and making, funny voices and shit, I'm the Asian guy. I get it now.
Yeah.
I get that.
I understand.
I get characterizing people can be hurtful. I understand it. I've done enough comedy. So, so they're like, do Russian. So I'm like, I'm just like, whatever. This is what I do, right? Russians, fine, we'll make fun of you. Fuck you. But yeah, I just was like, well,
fuck the Ruskies.
Yeah, right. I was doing gibberish. I'm like, whatever. I was just goofing off, right? Stuff make my friends laugh, whatever. And then like they're like, do you speak Russian? That's great. And I was like, and they're like, oh, like, what do you, and they're like, do you have an accent though? Like, do you? And I was like, look at them over there, the piece of shit, whatever. I can't do it now.
So whatever. You can do the accent, but whatever. You don't know the language.
No. And someone starts laughing, like one of the casting people or producer. They're like, that's fake. He's faking Russian. He's like, my grandma spoke Russian. And he's like, well, obviously we can't do gibberish Russian. God. And I was like, I know. Well, you asked me, and I just, I don't know. What do I know? So this set is ridiculous. Like, were you kidding me? You fed us sushi for lunch. I don't know where I'm at right now.
In Pittsburgh, of all places.
Yeah, I'm like, this is my. I was just with Richard Kind. I don't know what my life is right now. I was selling. I was writing Pizza Hut ads. 4 months ago. You know what I mean? So they cast me as Kurt Angle's manager. Because they were like, well, your Russian accent, besides any of the guys we know here, you have the best Russian accent, and they're teaching Kurt Angle like Russian and teaching him a Russian accent, and they're like, all right, so you're gonna you're Koba's manager. That's his name, and he's a Russian fighter, kind of played the Fedor character, Kurt Angle did. And they're like, here's your coach. They gave us a coach. This was Kurt's like fight coach. He was a Ukrainian kickboxer.
Okay.
And I want to say his name because I feel like I want people to look him up. His name was Roman Vasilevsky, I believe.
Roman Vasilevsky.
He's in the, what am I thinking? He's in the credits of the damn movie, Eric.
Okay.
So this dude basically like taught us Russian. He taught us what to say, like, you're yelling in the ring, like, brasai. Like, that was my job. Like, I'm the manager, and then a professional wrestler was like the they would call him like the trainer. Okay. And that's a guy named Ray Rowe, who now is in the WWE as the Eric. Yeah, he's Eric the Viking Raider right now in WWE. He just won the tag team champions.
Oh my god!
So it was me and Eric, Ray Rowe. His wrestling name, kayfabe name is Eric now, Eric the Viking. But so it was me and Ray Rowe, and Ray was just he was wrestling in Cleveland. Was a big dude. He was bald.
Yeah,
he could play Russian. But he knew fighting, he looks like a fighter.
Drank
big
vodka.
Fighter. Yeah, right. So it's like, they're like, okay, so go to the gym with Kurt and work out and, look like a Russian manager, coach, fighter.
Okay.
I'm like, okay. So it's funny because this dude, Roman, like, he taught us, like, he's this, like, little Wolverine dude. He's this tiny dude, and he's a kickboxing champion in Ukraine. And he's just, like, always like, let me show you this. You fucking come here. And he put you in an arm bar, and you're like, ah! You're like, get off me. And he's like, you fucking pussy. Like, it was crazy. And this guy was so much fun. But
shit.
The only Russian I remember is all this, like, I had, like, lines, The only Russian I remember is him, like, swearing. So, like, I knew, like, nakasuka. Like, if anybody, they know, I just swore horribly. Like, like all these swear words and, like, So that's all the stuff I remember. So I'm getting to your question. Because this is really the beginning of, like, how I really just kind of, like, fell. I always say a snowball rolling down a hill. And it was these movies and touch and stand up with Frank Nicotero, So I'm doing this movie, Warrior. And I'm on the ringside every day for like 37 days.
Okay.
Over like 3 months.
Okay.
So we're filming fight after fight. Kurt Angle's like in the whole movie. I mean, it's crazy. That's a whole nother story. I know some people have heard this. So we're filming, and the character that was in the movie that was kind of playing the Joe Rogan was Brian Callen.
Okay.
Who's a guy from Mad TV.
Yeah. I know who it is.
Yeah. And so Brian Callen, obviously, you find out that there's another funny guy, funnier. I mean, he's a professional comedian, and I never even heard of him. You know what I mean? Didn't know who he was. And then I'm like, oh, he was on Mad TV. Oh, cool. Like, and he started cutting up. We started cutting up. Hanging out, and I just was like, I tried stand up like 6 months ago for like a couple times. I tried it, and to this day, I since have like opened for Brian Callen, not like good friends, ran into him in Hollywood, told him the story, did not remember it. So just like, because that's the life. You're doing different projects every 6 months and you're in another world.
Of course.
So But what happened was, talking to Brian Callen, believe it or not, he changed my philosophy of how I do stand-up.
In what way?
I told him what I told you. I said, I'm writing, note cards, and it wasn't feeling right, And he's like, you're sitting here on set, and you're just fucking boom, boom, boom.
You're holding court.
You're making me laugh. You're making, we go out to dinner, boom. He's like, you're just saying whatever you think is funny. He goes, why don't you do that on stage?
Stream of consciousness.
And I was like, that's crazy. That's crazy. He goes, Aaron, you've been doing improv for 8-9 years and sketch comedy that you basically improvise off an idea.
Right on.
He's like, why don't you take an idea and just riff on it like improv? He was like, for instance, what's one of your jokes you're doing right now? I was like, I'm afraid of spiders because I heard they're all related. That's my premise, right? It was something that I know, it's so dumb. And I have.
Are they?
Actually, apparently, you know what I mean? So I wrote a couple bits about that, and it just wasn't funny, right? So he's like, okay, next time you go do stand-up. And I was like, I don't know, we'll see. He goes, I'm serious. Go do a 5-minute open mic and just go on stage with, you're afraid of spiders. That's it. And talk about why you're afraid of spiders.
To force yourself to start.
Yeah. And I was like, that's crazy. So we're on set, and there's lots. There's 100, 200 extras every day, and another funny dude who was a comedian. It was coming up at the time. He was like, hey, I got a comedy show. You're a funny dude. You from here? And I'm like, yeah. He's like, you want to do a show and I'm like, all right, cool. He's like, how much time can you do? I was like, I don't know. He's like, all right, well, we have a show. It was like in July, right? In the middle of, I think we were just done filming.
Okay.
You know what I mean? So it's like, hey, when we're done filming, come do this comedy show. I was like, okay. Because that's how it all, T-Rose told his story, right?
Yep.
Hey, you want a feature?
Yeah.
Yeah, sure.
See you at 5 o'clock.
Yeah, right? Yeah, I know. This shit is real. This is really, and by the way, we never give this advice to young comics. we're like, don't do this shit. Don't do this. So I go, I can do 15 minutes. Sure. I guess. He's like, all right, you're doing 15 minutes, whatever. I said, okay. So we go do this show at the Pittsburgh Cafe in Oakland, right?
Okay.
I remember, I think Matt Light hosted it.
Yeah, right on. Matt's been on.
Yeah. Oh, we're all old, dude. We were all little kids together doing
Matt's
this shit.
Nuts.
Yeah, dude. Dude. That dude, you talk about following your dreams, just get it. Just go after it any way you, hey, man.
Yep.
I can't fall, hey.
Right on.
Like, I'm the nice dad. He's the Pittsburgh heel, dude. Like,
There's
it's just
no
what
question.
It is. That's what it is.
There's no question.
Pick your lane and run people over.
With it.
That's it. So, I did this show, and I remember telling Brian Callen, like, dude, this dude put me on a comedy show. He said, do what I said. He said, just write down some ideas and just run with it. See what happens. And I swear to God, I did about 18 or 19 minutes.
Okay.
And I just went through my premises and just kind of stream of conscious, just kind of riffed. And it was a little chaotic, but people were fucking dying, and I'm like, I'm like, that son of a bitch. He was right. Like, that's my gear.
Okay.
That's, I just got it.
So if you were to go on tour, would that alter nightly if you did it that way? Or would you kind of stick to a format?
We're talking real early.
Yeah.
We're talking
okay.
So, yeah, because it does evolve into a
performance.
An engineered thing, for sure.
Okay.
But it's not.
But that's almost on that necessity to some degree, right?
How do you mean?
I don't know. You go free riffing every night, stream of consciousness every night. I might get a little dicey.
Yeah, but it's controlled. It's a thing that I definitely learned how to control. Okay. And it's something that I will attribute, honestly, doing entertainment for teenagers.
Okay.
When I was doing these camps, when I was doing sketches and just being an MC, just being a hype man for these whole 400 kids, teenagers in a room, and this chubby 26-year-old white dude comes up and I'm like, what's up, y'all? And they're like, who the fuck is he? They don't, so I'm just like, what's up, y'all? So that experience of just like being likable on the mic.
Got it.
That, as soon as I got that mic and I said, just kind of let it go. Because I understood improv. I understood just kind of like yes-anding yourself even.
No doubt.
And so I just thought, I'll just yes-and myself. I'll just go with what I'm saying. And really, and then I felt like I was that MC again in front of those kids, just kind of just following my heart and just saying whatever I thought was funny. But I will say, what you said is controlling yourself when you're rolling. I talked to kids for years. My tongue is real tight. You know what I'm saying? Like, I didn't say that.
I bet.
You know what I mean? But you know, it really, like, I got a lot of practice watching my mouth, and also I've also lived in a space where I'm not worried about anything crazy coming out of my mouth.
Understood.
You know what I'm saying? Like, there's not anything,
Understood.
I think, not many things in my heart that are going to come out of my mouth that are going to be a little too crazy.
Got it.
You know what I mean?
Yep.
So that wasn't that. I don't think that was, you know, that wasn't an issue. But when I started doing that, you know, it was like the fall of 2009.
Okay.
I started doing stand-up, you know, and I started after that show in July. I always say July 2009 is kind of like when I started really doing stand-up.
All right.
First time I did it was December, 29th, 2008 with
2008.
Frank. But then I just started going at it. Like that from like August, September, I just started like doing it. I heard the improv had an open mic every other week, and the Funny Bone had an improv every other week.
The Bone.
So August, September, I went to every single one the next couple months, and just, but what was crazy is I was doing new material every time. I just kept going and just improvising another 5 minutes, just like writing down an idea and just riffing on it and just being silly and just whatever, you know what I mean? But it was kind of working. But then what I also realized is that I was like, wait, but that thing I said about whatever, spiders last week was funny. Why don't I say that again? So I started to realize if I went back and used something, I kind of remembered my punches from when I said it before. So it was like every time I would say an idea, there was more on it. You know, it was a snowman.
I get it.
So that's how I started like really creating sets where it's so funny where T-Robe, like a similar story. So I'm doing stand-up. I'm going and doing guest sets. Like I'm doing open mics, and I do a couple guest sets. I remember my first couple guest sets were with Josh Sneed, who I know is a friend now, D. Ray Davis, who I've performed on his show in Hollywood now. So I did guest sets on these guys' shows. Okay. Just like 5 minutes. You know, I remember you people have explained that. Yeah. And I was, look, comedians aren't supposed to say like, but I was doing well.
Yeah, right on.
And I was new, and that's something that a club is like.
That's rare.
Who's this guy? Like,
that's rare. That's rare. No doubt.
And so I was doing different sets even, and so I get a call from the assistant manager, and at that time I remember T-Rib saying his first manager. Everyone like at your club, you're like, who was your first manager? Mine was Amy Arnold. And Amy was just like, she loves this dude. She just loved me. She's like a mom. She's like a fun, really new comedy. Did stuff in LA with the club, and so she really just was good at picking out young, comics, young talent. I mean, and so she was just like, yeah, I mean, call him, see if he wants to work this weekend. So the assistant manager calls me and is like, hey, do you want to work at the Improv this weekend? And I was like, oh shit. I was like, okay. Like what? Similar. It's so funny. T-Rose does the same story. Like you're like, but that's what it's like. You're like, oh shit. Like this is crazy. And he goes, all right, well, I know you can do it. So you can feature. And I know T-Rob explained this, and when you're like, you don't know what that is. You're like, yeah, okay. I'm the feature. All right, sure. I'm one of the comics, the little guys up front. You know what I mean? So I go, and I remember, because that's when I still had note cards. I was still, because I was literally I've done comedy at this point probably 15 times.
Got it. Right.
But I was doing all these different 5-minute sets of just riffing on stuff, So I get there, and no joke, they're like, all right, so the host, you'll do 10, Aaron, you'll do 20. And I was like, holy shit. I was like, what?
20 minutes.
I swear to God, I went to Amy, and I said, Amy, I don't think I can do 20 minutes. That's crazy. like 5 minutes is the hardest thing I've ever done in my life. And Amy goes, I've seen you do 20 minutes here collectively.
Yeah.
She's like, you do something different every time I see you. She goes, add up your 5 minutes and make 20. And she walked away. And I was like,
otherwise, figure it out.
Yeah. But what she said, it is in my comedy philosophy ever.
Okay.
I don't think I ever verbalized that Amy was one of the people that said that to me that triggered. Was that she said, take all your 5 minutes and add it up to 20.
Okay.
And I always have now tell comedians, you are never going to have a good 20 unless you have a good 5. And so it made sense to me that I was like, oh, I take this 5, this 5, this 5, and this 5.
Stack them.
And that equals 20. So I literally, that weekend, my first weekend at the Pittsburgh Improv, doing 20 minutes. I've done 14 shows, 14 mics ever.
Wow.
I opened for Sebastian Maniscalco. That's when they called him Maniscalco.
Yeah,
That's
right
before
on.
he was Cher.
Right on.
Before he was Prince, you know?
Right on.
And I just literally took 4 index cards and was like, 20.
There's your 20 minutes.
And that was my first 20 minutes, man.
Damn.
And I was like, that's how I learned how to build a set. Put 5 minutes 4 times. And like, I just did it. And after I did that, and they gave me $100 a show.
Yeah, right on.
I was, at that time, I quit my job to film those 2 movies.
Mm-hmm.
August of 09 and, September of 09, I literally was filming 2 movies for 3-4 months. Mm-hmm. And now I'm back home with my wife and baby, no job. I'm waterproofing people's basements. I'm cutting grass. I'm building retaining walls.
Right.
I'm doing whatever. Church ladies need, a picture hung. I'll go shirtless and do it. Whatever. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's where I was. And then I did this stand-up, and I did it by myself.
Yeah.
I had no writing partners. I had no producers, directors.
Got it.
Nobody but me. Mm-hmm. Nobody but me to determine my success at it. Mm-hmm. And that intrigued the shit out of me.
I bet.
Because I'm a child of abuse and I like control.
Yeah, I get it.
I mean, really, man. It was something I was like, because all my life I was like, my mom, when I was 10 years old, we moved to the projects in Munhall Homestead. And I was like, I want a bike. She was like, go cut grass. Go shovel snow. I don't know what to tell you.
I get it.
Right?
Yeah, right on.
So when I was 10...
They used to call that parenting.
I know, right? When I was 10, 11 years old, I was knocking on people's door at the Proj, $5 a yard, those little ass yards. I'm like, if I do 50 yards, shit, I'm gonna have some money.
It's kind of like stacking your 20-minute show.
Right. Yeah, right. Well, yeah, so I was just like, okay, I gotta hustle this.
Yeah, right on.
So I said, how do I get more gigs? Like, how do I... Like, they just handed me $600 for doing jokes, bro. A mile from my house. I was like, this shit is crazy. Like, this is the best thing ever. So I was like, how do I do more of this? And they go, get better and better. Just do it as much as you can. And Sebastian Maniscalco said, just do it, bro. Just do it. Do it as much as you can. I said, okay. So I just went all in. I went home, gave my wife a $600 check. She was like, what the fuck? She goes, you've been making movies? You've been doing stand-up? You've been doing improv? You never handed me a check over $100 for any of that shit. Now, I know it sounds depressing, like it comes down to money, but that's the business.
Well, sure it does.
For you to live your dream,
sure it does.
You got to pay your bills.
Yeah.
That's why there's 1,000 waiters and waitresses in L.A. and New York. You know what I mean? That's why...
Go to Nashville, the best guitarists in the world are pumping gas.
Driving Uber. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. I know somebody who's on Saturday Night Live who literally got the call when they were driving Uber.
I believe it.
You know what I mean? So I just said, okay, I know how to hustle. Let's do this. And so I in the fall of 09, I worked at the Pittsburgh Improv. I was doing comedy for like 3 months. Mm-hmm. And it was just hit a time where it was just, there wasn't a lot of people doing comedy, there was young people coming up like a couple years older than me. There was Bill Crawford, there was Jeff Conkle, there was Matt Light, Terry Jones, T-Robe. And so when I started going to that club, and all love and shout outs to those guys, because that's how comedy works. We see somebody that we like and we respect and we think they're funny and we pick them up.
Got it.
That's just how it works.
Got
That's
it.
how comedy works. And I knew what supporting each other was. You know, I knew about like brotherhood and ministry, and I knew about. And I said, this is how we do each other.
Certainly.
This is how we treat each other. And so people like Bill Crawford, people like Jim Krenn, T-Robe, Terry Jones, those guys were like, "Yo, Aaron Kleiber, you got to check this guy out." Mike Wysocki, they were like, "Yo, you got to check this guy out." And you know, and that's how it works. It's the circle of life. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's like,
absolutely.
that's what you continually do. You see people
Absolutely.
that are of good character and that are funny, pick them up. Because that's the only way you're going to find out how to be a better comedian. You know what I mean? Like, it's to kind of give love to everybody else. And that's what I learned from everybody I've ever worked with, is that's how it works. So that in the beginning, that's just how it was. It was like these guys like, oh, this new kid, oh, boom, you know, and I just went all in. And I was just like, okay, well, and then I did those 2 movies.
Right.
So now they had to put me in SAG. So they made me a union member immediately to be in that movie, do dialogue, you know. And so now I'm auditioning as a SAG member, you know, and now I'm doing.
It matters.
Yeah. Oh yeah. And that when I said when I was doing that, it was like the beginning of 2009, I think. 2008, late 2008, when I told my wife I want to be an actor and a comedian.
Okay.
I said, I'm going to try this out. I'm going to try it. After Second City, you know, I knew that was going to happen. My sketch comedy partner, you know, he was taking care of his family. And I said, okay, I'm going to be a comedian and an actor. And in 3 years, I am going to get my SAG card. And I'm going to do comedy at the Improv. And I'm going to get on DVE. And I did that in 7 months. All 3. And after that, I was just like, oh, if I hustle, I'll get rewarded.
Right.
Now, folks, 12 years into comedy, we all know that hustle isn't everything, baby. So hold on with your dreams, pump the brakes. But no, really, bro, like that's really what I saw it as. Not only I was always hustling, you know, for money, but I saw it as a living.
Right.
Like you could
that was your vocation. You made a decision that was going to be your vocation.
Yeah, and just like I transferred into marketing and advertising, when I did that a few years before this, I went to Barnes & Noble University, and I read every advertising book I could read.
Right.
And then I took that and faked my way into advertising jobs. I'm going to be 100% honest.
It's not really faking, though. I mean, you're self-educated.
It's advertising,
right?
baby. It worked on you, didn't it? You know what I mean? Like,
good point.
Yay! You know,
Good point.
I sold myself pretty well. Now, how about if I advertise for you? See,
that's all a comedian is, really. I mean, you're constantly selling yourself, right?
That's what it is, man. It's a hard experience in a way where, like I said, at the end of the day, you know, people sell houses, people sell windows, people sell cars. But when you're selling you, like I think earlier on when we were talking, when you sell you, it's so much different.
Yeah,
because
that's
you're
how
literally
I approach all careers I've had.
Yeah, you're literally like, here's my baby. Do you like it?
Absolutely.
Do you want to kiss my baby? You know,
Right,
like that's
right.
what it is.
Yeah, I think it's like it's a relationship now in business, or whether it's realty. You need to form that relationship. They'll do business with anyone they like.
That's right.
That's human nature.
That's right.
So I don't have to sell real estate or even my services. It's about me.
Right.
But with you folks, that's on steroids. It's really you are giving the audience yourself.
Yeah. It is a weird intimate giving. It is. I think to some people
no
it's
question.
a weird thing.
Well, a lot of the material is so self-reflective, though, right? With a lot of comedians.
Some comics, yeah, I think so. I think my comedy, if people don't know, I mean, I take, you know, my life and family and fatherhood as I mean, let's keep the theme going, as a mustard seed. You know what I mean? Like I plant it, and whatever grows, it just kind of grows. Like I take kind of some ideas, you know, kind of in reality,
right?
And I just kind of take it on a journey. I just kind of like see where my brain can take it. So if you like, I'm not saying that everything I say on stage is true, but there's some truth to it. I just threw a bunch of Play-Doh on it or crayons, or I just made it little zany and
crayons.
You know what I mean? I don't know.
That's
I just scribbled on it.
Analogy.
I put clay on it, and I fucking, you know what I mean? So, but yeah, I just kind of, you know, just did what I thought was funny, and it was funny. And then it was funny because I was a dad. I had one baby girl, but then when I had my son, it like opened up a whole new level of stand-up.
Of content.
Yeah, man. And all of a sudden, after my second kid, then I started just talking about, you know, my kids and my family and marriage, and that resonated. Of course, you know, it resonated with everybody.
Absolutely.
And you know,
absolutely,
it's going back to like saying selling yourself. It's a weird thing, and it's hard to verbalize this because, you know, you don't want to come off. I try to walk humbly. And it's a really hard thing to do that.
Well, you're an entertainer.
When your business is your dumbass face.
Well, no question.
It's literally your face
question.
And hearing your voice all damn day.
No question.
It is so obnoxious and annoying. You know, people are like, content, and I'm sitting there editing my own face talking, and I'm like, I hate myself. And then so you're like editing videos and posting pictures of your face, and then meanwhile going on email and phone calls like, please hire me. I love myself. Do you love me? Like, it is just, it's a thing that you're just bounced like a pinball between humility and narcissism. Is that it's just this weird dichotomy of being authentic and being a good person to people, but also being getting what's yours.
Well, it's a dance with the ego.
Getting that money.
Right?
You know,
it's a
like
dance with the ego.
Getting what you want. Yeah.
Constant.
I mean, you're constantly, you know, saying like, damn, like, I wish I could be like that guy. Like, he just says what he wants and gets what he wants. Like, I respect people, you know, that just say what they want to say, and, you know, if that's who they are, then that's the comic they want to be. I respect that. Because for me, I feel like I hold myself back, you know? Like, I'm like, you know, but I feel like this is who I am, and this is I'm okay with being who I am.
Yeah, I think society is more accepting of authenticity now. They almost expect it, I believe. Would you agree or disagree?
Well, I mean, I don't think you can be a successful comedian without some kind of authenticity.
In your field, I would agree.
Yeah.
But I think in other fields, you've been able to fake it for a long time, different fields, but that's changing, I think.
Yeah, I think, you know, with stand-up, I mean, sure.
I mean, acting's a fake. The entire thing's a fake.
Oh, yeah. I mean, you can be whoever you want to be, because all the people see is in an interview and, you know, on screen of stuff you did not write. You know, with stand-up, I don't know how you can. I mean, sure, I'm sure comedians can name a few names that are like, oh, they're fake as shit. Like, they're not like that persona at all. But I can't think of many. You know, I think for you to be on stage for an hour in front of strangers, I don't know how you don't show your cracks. You know what I mean? I don't know how you don't show who you are.
I think that's what the public wants to see.
Absolutely, man. That's why it's the only way you can connect with literally a room of 400 strangers if you just don't get naked in front of them.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. It's not fair, though. They're not getting naked.
Yeah, I know. It's such a weird analogy, but you get on stage and take your clothes off and you're like, I'm ready to, you know what I mean? Like, and they're all like, all right, we're ready to. I don't know. Oh, it's so stupid. But yeah, shit, what a journey. I mean, dude. And that's like the beginning, you know.
Dude.
But I think, you know, from what we're talking about, you know, whether I'll just keep talking. From what we're talking about, though, I do consider any of the success, quote unquote, that I had was just honestly just trying to, you know, be a good dude.
Yeah. Well, it comes back to you. It's full circle, right? I mean, I believe there's a give and take in life. You know, you do get back, maybe not immediately, but you do get back what you give out.
I mean, you know, we all know, like, you know, hey, assholes win sometimes.
But
you know
it's usually
what I mean?
short term.
Yeah.
I think Mick Jagger's the exception, probably. He's made a career out of doing that. But outside of Mick and a few others.
Right.
You know.
But, you know, I will say that, you know, some of the, you know, I guess now I'm at a point where, you know, I've taught comedy classes at Arcade, and you know, I now, like, I see, you know, mentoring comics is an important thing. You know, you want good comics in your city. You know what I mean? So it's like, you just tell other comics, show them how to do it. Show them how to treat people.
Yeah.
Show them how to put shows together.
It's like a stewardship almost, right?
Yeah, man. I mean, comedy is like everyone lives by example. And so I watched, the people who set the bar when I started. I saw T-Robe hustling. I saw Terry Jones, being hilarious. I saw, people like Matt Light and, Billy Crawford. And, I saw those local guys and they sat that bar and I was like, oh, okay, this is what I got to do. Okay, let's go. And so, there was not a lot of places to perform back in, 09, 2010. So I started 2 open mics immediately.
Right on.
I had a Monday mic for 10 years.
Right on.
Mondays was mine, it was crazy. So I, created those opportunities because there weren't many. So it was like, okay, so how do I get better at this? Do more of it.
Yeah.
Well, how?
Yeah, of course.
Create shows.
You have to.
So I created shows, so.
Repetition is success, though, right?
Oh, yeah.
It's the recipe for success.
Absolutely. If anything is a 10,000 hour mastery, stand up is one of them.
I have this philosophy, and tell me if you agree or do you feel there are exceptions? I mean, like definite exceptions, because there's an exception to anything. There's outliers everywhere, but we talk about podcasting a lot on this show. Other podcasters come on, or people that are my guests, they somehow turn the table and ask me what this whole sphere is about, right? You've had it. So I'm of the belief that, take podcasting for example, that America is such an amazing place in spite of all the problems we have.
Sure.
That the formula for success in this country is creation of the idea and then doing it again and again and again and hopefully refining it. You can be very average at something. You can be even almost below average, but if you do it enough and you make small increment, I don't mean big changes, but small incremental things, you will become successful in spite of yourself.
Yeah.
I mean, how do you explain Pauly Shore? I mean, there's an example right there.
Well, I can explain a lot about that, but yeah.
I'm just saying,
Yeah. Exactly.
But then in this game here, where like I've been told multiple times, like, well, where's your drive to do this? Because we're not a monetary show. Sure. My thing is, if I do enough good interviews, have enough great people on, and have a lot of fun, and just keep doing it, something magical will happen. And it's already happened because of what I've gotten out of this. You see what I mean? Right. Without having a direction. Does that make any sense?
Yeah.
But that formula, I think, works in America. If you really are, like, if you buy in, and I think you're an example, you've proven it. I mean, you are as successful as you're willing to put into it. Yeah. Right?
And still
repetition.
And you literally live every day where you still are like, you're not doing enough.
Well, yeah. Yeah, I get that. I get that.
I mean, there's always more. But what you said, there's another grain of truth in what you said, is that as you hustle, as you progress, as you put in those hours, one thing is if you can do something 10,000 times and you still enjoy yourself, that's the thing. That's your thing, But that's when you can do anything for 10,000 hours. But what you said is, if you don't change along the way and grow in those hours, you're not going to progress.
Well, you have to learn, right? Yeah. If you're not willing to learn,
you have to have an openness and a willingness,
humility
to grow.
Absolutely,
you have to. And there are people.
Be easy though, really. If your ego is so whacked, then you really are you're doing an exercise of futility anyway.
You got to remember, people start stand up all different ways.
I guess.
There's some people that start immediately and they're like, I'm the shit.
Yeah.
I know them.
Yeah.
Not many of those people do stand up anymore, FYI.
I understand.
But, it does start different ways, but it definitely. I'm trying to figure out what I was going to say about that.
But I do think though, like what your journey echoes to me is kind of reaffirmation of that stupid formula I have, that I believe that if, there are some very mediocre people doing entertainment, not just comedy, but they're there, and you're like, when you hear their story, it's like they just kept fucking doing it.
Yeah.
And it's just like the world just kind of either gets. The example I use is the rock band that I'm most associated with is Kiss.
Yeah.
Not great musicians. Paul Stanley's decent singer.
Right.
But Trends didn't matter. Fads didn't matter. They put that crazy show on.
They just kept doing their thing.
Every single year.
Just kept doing their thing.
Album show. And they beat that image into the consciousness of the The country probably says, "Oh fuck, they're not going away. Okay, here's my money."
Right.
But I mean they're an example, I think, of that not rockhead mentality, because they learned and adapted. Right, they grew. But
I
repetition's a thing.
I think too that you see what someone like Kiss did is that they found something that worked. And they were like, let's do this over and over and over.
Well, of course. And that's what I mean.
Yeah.
I mean, but even if I don't think in the beginning it was working very well. They made it work.
Right. I mean, you think of
because it doesn't make any sense. What they're doing does not make logical sense.
Every time I hear about Jimmy Buffett selling out 50 cities, I'm like, huh? What? Like, I don't get it.
But he's going to those 50 cities.
He has 2 songs. I don't understand. Right now, I have boomer friends that are like, you son of a bitch. He's a legend.
Well, I mean, Twisted Sister made it too. I mean,
I know, right? I know.
I don't know.
But yeah, it's it's a lot of, it's just pounding the pavement, man.
And that's a work ethic thing that I don't think is really, and it's not an old guy talking down to the younger generation, but it really, I'm not
Could
sure.
be anybody.
I'm not sure the work is at the forefront of the Instagram social media environment that we're in, that a lot of young people are looking into. They're not seeing, there's a lot of instant gratification there. Thus the name Instagram, right?
Right.
And I think the work is the thing in your craft that is just the intangible. It has to be fucking done.
You tell yourself you tell yourself that every day as a performer, that you just keep doing the work, keep hustling, you know what I mean? And I'm not that, like I said, I'm not trying to be like the old man either, where I'm just like, I'm not on TikTok. I don't,
I don't even know what that is.
Right? I know.
I'm old.
But like, I tried it for a while and I was like,
it's a video platform, right?
Yeah, I get it. Lots of friends do it. They have fun with it. A lot of friends, get a lot of followers on it, I honestly think, getting famous on social media is harder, or is easier to do than to become a household name stand-up comic.
Yeah. Does it always equate to money, though? I mean, we talked about it being currency, and you kind of said, well, it's kind of a social currency, the likes and the followings.
Absolutely is.
But does it always directly guarantee you money?
I would say it all depends, like we said, we keep saying it all depends on the person. I mean, it's all individual. You have some people who, they go and they're like, I'm going to get 100,000 followers, 200,000, 1 million followers, and I'll be on the Tonight Show. Well,
is that how it works? Is that how it works today?
That's not how that works, but it'll help. It'll help, At the end of the day, the booker of the Tonight Show is going to go, not funny enough. Sorry.
Yeah, I get it. I get it. I get it.
But go look at any comedy club calendar. There are a lot of dates that we wish said my name or some of my friends' names.
Yeah.
And there are soap opera stars. There are reality TV stars who are going and filling those nights.
Right.
And are selling out.
Got it.
They're selling, no, I mean, not proverbially.
I know.
They're literally selling out the show.
I understand.
So when you're like, hey, I have 50 fans in Indianapolis, can I do a show? And they're like, I'm sorry, the doctor from General Hospital is going to have a bunch of screaming 50-year-old women in here.
Rick Springfield.
I mean, for real. But you also got to look at the business, and, it's like, you're just thankful that these clubs give you a given
No, I get it.
I mean, the clubs have given me such shots that I, only deserve on, I mean, I don't have followers. When the Improv says you want to come to California and headline a weekend at one of our clubs, and I'm like, nobody knows who I am. They're like, we want to see your swing. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And I appreciate those opportunities. I mean, the Funny Bones, putting me headlining me. Right. Nobody knows. They're giving away tickets to me. They're giving me shots, That's where I am. I'm in the purgatory of comedy.
But you don't think, though, that happened, though, because of all the hard work you put in prior?
I do. I do.
I think so.
I do. You don't say that to yourself. You're just like, hey, thanks. You're just thankful.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But, you put in that work, and you just kind of, You just do it.
I mean, if you take the emotion out and look at it from a mechanical standpoint,
Yeah.
it is
yeah.
the work to build. You're building something, right? And,
Yeah.
and that building thing is lost a lot, I think, on the younger generation, only as they peer in to what they think might be the pathway to money.
Yeah, it's like, I guess now you look at it where it's like, I might have a decently local, successful burger joint, right? Mm-hmm. And right now, I'm trying to figure out how to make my burgers McDonald's.
Yeah, scale, right?
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I'm trying to figure out how to open a chain. Mm-hmm. That's what you're trying to do. Mm-hmm. And I only know how to do it, honestly. And I will say there are a few comedians that I know that have done social media and have grown because they are super funny, and they're not just like
I'm sure
some influencer who like hey, I got 1 million followers and now I'm headlining a club. You're like, what?
Yeah,
it has worked for some comics.
I'm sure.
My friend Tony Baker, everyone has seen this guy. He does voiceovers of animals.
Okay.
He just, I don't know if you've ever seen this dude.
Probably not coming to mind right now.
There'll be a raccoon and he'll be like, oh, what's up, y'all? That's Tony.
I've seen that. Okay.
Tony is one of the funniest comedians I've ever met. Done festivals with him. He beat me in a festival. And I was just like, what? Like, you think of Tony, people like him. You're like, this dude is so damn funny. How is Tony?
Yeah, but you almost say he deserves it, right?
And then,
I mean, come on.
But you see someone like that, and they jump on Instagram and start making funny videos, and he just is consistent with it.
Well, and smart.
And you see someone like him who he did that, and it worked, and you're like, good job. Like,
of course.
Like, that's like, it worked for somebody you cheer for. You know what I mean?
Of course.
You're like, oh, good. A viral video made Tony,
Absolutely.
But the funny thing is, it's like, people think they're going to hit 1 million followers and they're going to headline weekends.
Yeah.
Tony's an exception.
Of course.
He was ready.
That's the problem with the internet.
He was ready.
Yeah,
we got a lot of people. I mean, I've seen, people do sets and they're like, they were on this show. This is so-and-so from such and such. And then they get up there and it is crickets. And you're like, oh my God, why do I work so hard? Like, you're like, what?
I get it.
Why are they here?
I get that.
But that's the nature of the beast. That's everybody.
Yeah.
You know?
That's the environment we find ourselves
Everybody's
in
got to
right
have
now.
a Tim Tebow, I guess. I don't know. If that's an example, I have no idea. Does that make
As long
sense?
as the Steelers don't get them.
I know, right? But so it really came down to, like, after, doing this for a decade, I'm talking about like how you carry yourself. I have so many comics coming up who have always asked, like, what do I do? How do I do it? How do I, get what you're doing? How do I get what you get? That's all. I mean, it's so hard to not ask that question.
I know.
You have competition in your business. Yeah. How do they get what they get? How do they get it? And you can't like really kill yourself on that. I know that. I've lived in that. I've stewed in that. How did they get it? How did they?
So true.
And you're just like, hey, look, all I know is the thing that I've done that has worked is that I have been kind to people.
Right.
And when I get on stage, I try to be as funny as possible. At the end of the day, that's all I can do.
Sounds like a pretty easy formula, but it's in the talent and the execution.
I honestly say it's the two greatest commandments of comedy in my world. And I literally have made it a shirt. I'm at that point where I made it a damn shirt, Eric. Okay, it's so obnoxious that I made my life advice in comedy a shirt. Nice. It's stupid, but I do sell the shirt and give money away to the Pittsburgh Women's Center and Shelter.
There you go.
But so I came up with this phrase that it became a shirt only because it was just it sounded good and people really liked it. So when comics are like, "What's your advice?" and I tell them, just be kind and be funny. Yeah, that's it.
I get it.
And I know it's vague, and you're like, well, what about, honestly, if you just think about it, it's just like...
Well, it really applies to comics.
It really does. And that's kind of like my life advice too. You know what I mean? Like, look at the bright side of life. Look at the funny things that you experience, not the bad things. I don't want, I didn't want to... It's the reason why that I took some time off. I didn't know how to get on Zoom and do jokes about, hey guys, I'm afraid I'm going to lose my house and my parents are going to die. What's up, y'all? You know what I mean? Like, it's just, and we didn't even talk about that. It was, so, I tell people, it just comes down to, people are like, how did you get what you got? Right? Yeah. And people always say like, oh, you started the improv so early. You've opened for everybody. And I can only say that, you know, and of course comics will be like, oh, who, you know, Bob Saget, he's kissing his ass, and, you know, who's, you know, and I'm like, honestly, man, I was just being myself.
Right.
At the end of the day, I know, and I know now because now I have comics that I come up with and I love and I take on the road with me and people that open for me, and I get it. And I get what you're looking for. I get it. And I didn't get it then, but I was just being myself. Mm-hmm. And I've had a lot of people say, you know, how did you get to tour with these guys?
Of course.
And it came down to, they tell me, and they go, hey, man, thanks for just like being just fucking normal.
And a good dude,
just
right?
I mean,
it's
thanks for just being like a solid person and
exactly.
not like, you know, they don't have to worry. You know, I'm not on the road with them trying to step in front of them. I know where my light is. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. I know not to step in somebody's light. You know what I mean?
No, it's right.
I know how to support. You know, I grew up in, you know, learning ministry and learning yes-anding, and, you know, you just kind of like, you know, I'm just happy to be here.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
You're echoing, like, my thing is humility. Like, I built right behind me out on the wall up there, I had the 4 tenets of how I think for a quality life. It's
yes.
It's just humility and
I'm seeing it for the first time.
Actively listen, seek understanding, and then find common ground. I mean, that's just, to me.
That's it.
But you have to start with humility. You got to bring humility. Start with humility. But that's how you show people that you're also a kind person.
You just got to go. You got to go in, especially like. Comics are, you know, trying to, you know, they're like, I want to open for these comics. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, well, first of all, bring humility. You can't go in like you're the shit.
Yeah. Right.
You're not.
Exactly.
And T-Road, man, I learned this from him. It's like, you're support. You're part of the show to help the build person on the show.
Of course.
You know,
that's the hierarchy of your industry. It's the platform. It's the way things work. Understanding that's imperative. If you're going to partake in that platform, you need to understand it.
Yeah, and there's it definitely, you know, I don't know what to tell people, and that's why I kind of just started saying that, because I was just like, you know, I'm just trying to be a cool dude. I'm just trying to, you know. You know what I mean? Like, I can't verbalize it because it's like, it's one of those things where I can't say it about myself, because it's just like, that's just what it is. You know, it's like, that's how I got on the road with so many people.
Right. Because character matters. In most instances, there's a few outliers where people get lucky, can be a dick and make it. Yeah. But for the most part.
Hey, douchebags have fans too.
Jagger made it.
I know. Right. Hey man, people hate on like someone like Dane Cook. You know, Dan Cook, he's fucking not funny. Blah, 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 blah. I go, well, he sold out Madison Square Garden, so I don't know what to tell you.
But
there's something for everybody.
Well, it's back to that thing. He worked, right?
Yeah, right.
He's being creative, doing things other people weren't going to do.
Yeah,
he did it.
You know, people say, "Oh, people like this is an asshole." And sometimes, you know what I mean?
Well, jealousy's a funny thing.
Asshole means comedy too.
And you probably encounter a lot of jealousy in your field because you're in entertainment.
We live through it. I mean, I'm jealous about things. It's that nature of that beast. You know what I mean? It's just, you know, you're all literally trying to like get attention from the same people.
Yes.
You know what I mean? But then when you realize is that, you know, when it's your turn to get a drink, you'll get a drink. You know what I mean? Like
there's enough to go around. I think that's what, like, musicians always say that too. We're all fighting for the same audience. Well, there's a lot of audience there.
Yeah, it's really not. And what people don't realize too is what I've experienced is that there are people that can like other bands. Right. You can like multiple bands.
Of course. Yeah. We can walk and chew gum at the same time.
Right. Like, I mean, for me too, I will say I give Jim Brewer credit for helping me solidify my voice. Because I toured with him for over a year and a half, 2 years.
I've watched some of those performances. I remember
he put me on TV for the first time.
Yeah, right. I think I watched that performance.
He put me on Gotham. And
yes, that's where it was.
You know, and I'll never forget what he said.
09, right? 09 or something?
Oh, God, no. It was 13.
Okay, later.
14?
Okay.
Something like that, yeah.
He got me with the hokey pokey, man. Daisy, that was like 01 or something.
Oh, yeah.
Like, oh, my God, was that
But,
funny.
dude, like, people like him, you know...
he's a hoot, man. He's on Rogan recently. Did you listen to any of that?
I don't know if I listened to that
one. Go back
and
listen to some of that.
Yeah.
He's out there.
Oh, yeah. I mean, you know, hey, people evolve, you know.
Oh, yeah.
But, it was just one of those things where it was just doing what I was doing and him telling me, yep, this is your lane.
Right.
Like, this is, yeah.
Right.
And it was funny because to a point where I was finding kind of my voice, and at the point where, because people always ask, they're like, well, why aren't you touring with Bob Saget? I was like, well, that was 6 years ago.
Everybody's got a
Why aren't
comment.
you, hey, do you
Everybody has a comment, though.
do you
It's
talk to Jim
amazing.
Brewer every single day?
It's amazing.
I'm like, no, man. No, that's not how that shit works.
Yeah,
Like,
we live together.
yeah, what are you talking about? Like, it's, but it's a thing where, to a point where I was working with Jim, and it's literally two energetic white dudes who are on, like, a natural, we speak fast, who both have 3 kids.
Right.
Jim and I can't tour together anymore. Like, it's literally, I'm not saying we're not, but we're similar enough where.
Understood.
What I meant is that, Jim introduced me to fans.
Mm-hmm. Of course, that's how it works.
People like that say, even like Bob Saget, it's like, hey, do you not, are you offended, a little bit by, like, my pussy jokes? Like, because really, and they're like, well, Aaron's talking about his kids, so you'll be fine. You know what I mean? Like, you'll enjoy him. It's like, I think about stuff like that, but I'm so privileged to, like I said, like, the people that I've worked with,
Right.
I've met their fans who have in turn become fans of mine.
Absolutely.
And that's huge.
Yeah,
and
no
it all comes down to, it's just like, hey man, I'm just trying to, like, you hate being that people pleaser, but the name of the game is pleasing people and the audience.
Of course. It's
know,
entertainment.
Yeah. I mean, you want to make them laugh. You know what I mean? That's what you're there for, right?
It's got to be that's still, for someone who has no talent in doing that, that's still, it's horrifying.
It's, bro, I swear to God, I would rather, I tell this all the time, I say this all the time, I would rather be on stage improvising, not knowing anything, than to go do scripted stand-up.
No
it's
shit.
scarier.
Wow.
It's scary, but you know why? Because I have people with me. Because if I'm doing improv, I have 3-4 people on stage. I'm gonna be like, well, if I'm not feeling it tonight, I know 2 of them will be decent.
They'll pick up the slack.
But when it's just you,
Your balls are hanging out there.
you're butt naked, dude. You're butt naked jumping out of a plane. It's crazy. But yeah, it just came down to just like, I'm just gonna, and I'm saying this to myself right now.
Yeah.
You constantly, people, you're saying this all the time. You're like, just be kind, be funny. Just keep being yourself. You know
that.
And you're looking at the end of this pandemic. You know what I mean? And you're looking at, where I was, like some of our, some people you've had, T-Row.
Yeah.
You're looking at, I had my career literally where I was ready to tour my first international album.
Right on.
Had money behind it, people behind it that believed in me. You know what I mean? And I'm supposed to tour on it, and it all goes away.
Right.
Like I said.
Right.
I built a house, and it did not withstand the hurricane.
Temporary setback.
Right. But you just got to go, you know what? I know what I'm good at.
Right.
I know.
It's confidence.
I know this has been working. And so don't change now.
Right.
Like, it's working.
Right. I get it completely.
And it might not be in your time. It is going to happen when you want it to happen, but you're just like, hey.
That's the ego of man, right?
I know. I just hope I don't want to say that phrase. I was going to say hope I'm ready when it's time. But you know what? It's always time. You know what I mean? It's always
time.
I'm not going to get some phone call that's going to, like,
then make you ready all of a sudden.
Right. There's no phone call that's going to move you into a mansion in LA. Comedy doesn't work that way.
Right.
Comedy is one of the few things, people can, disagree with me, but stand-up comedy specifically is one of the few creative performance things that you almost have to touch every rung of the ladder. Every rung. Every rung. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Because
it does.
I know actors, I know musicians, all very talented, some, not making it, some made it. And for most part, a lot of people I know in different realms, they get that thing. They get that thing. Stand-up doesn't work that way. Stand-up is looking for journeymen. They're looking for people who, it's like they try, people pop off in 2-3 years and they come out strong. Most of the time, management plucks them up. They're what did you say? A trend.
Yeah.
They push them out there.
Yeah.
Hard. I mean, they take some of these young comics and, like, they shove them out there. That happens.
Yeah, but that's an outlier.
A lot of times, I've been doing it 12 years. I want to say like 10% of those people are still like on calendars. You know what I mean?
Got it.
Maybe they weren't ready. I don't know. But you know what I mean? So like what I mean to say is that you just got to keep stepping on every stone, every rung on the ladder. You know, acting, you're in LA, you're hustling, and you hear all these stories. You know, you're doing this thing, and I auditioned for this thing. Billy Gardell. I was about to quit comedy and move back to Pittsburgh, you know, because stand up wasn't, I don't know what I'm doing wrong. How am I not a household name yet? I get it. And Billy was at 18 years. Thank God for Billy's testimony. That's how I speak now. We're talking church now, people, okay? Everybody got a testimony. That Billy Gardell's comedy testimony,
18
man.
18 years.
18
I didn't
years.
know it was that long.
He's doing auditions. He's getting a couple movie roles. He's traveling around the country, you know? He's not on billboards. You know, he's been doing stand-up. You got Mike and Molly. You're the lead in a CBS sitcom. You know, there's stuff like that happens, you know, but that's acting.
Certainly.
That's acting.
I get it.
There's very few people
Examples in comedy.
that happens,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah.
But you think like, oh, well, look at Kevin James. Look at Billy Gardell. Oh, no, bro. Those guys were on the road. Billy was doing a casino with 30 people a week before he got that call.
Wow.
You know what I mean? I mean, dude. So what I mean is you never listen. You got. I'm saying this for myself right now. This is literally. I'm talking as like this is a
reaffirmation.
Journal. You have to.
Yeah.
I got to talk to myself. You
Absolutely.
know, like. And say it for other people too. That's what it is, you know. And like a band, you know,
Yeah,
I've known
right on.
bands, and you know, no disrespect to musicians hustling because they do. Trust me.
Some.
Well, yeah, but I've heard stories too. Like we're a band, all of a sudden, we're opening for the Beastie Boys.
Right.
What the fuck? You know what I mean? In comedy, it's weird like that. People think, you know, it's like, you know, or like the Beastie Boys toured with Madonna, and then it like, you know, and like
There's almost like tenure in comedy.
It is. It's
right?
It is, man. There's an algorithm of comedy that is so confusing, like any other art, that people don't understand. It's like you got to be a good person, but you got to be really funny. But if you're not a good person, you better be super fucking funny. You know, it's like if you're gonna be dirty, you better be real good. It's like these algorithms. You know what I mean?
I get it.
That they're looking for, and sometimes 1 million followers.
Yeah, right on.
That's the one that gets, you know. But it's almost like you gotta continually. You can't be too much bass. You can't be too much treble. You can't.
It's a good analogy.
Like it's a weird thing,
That's a good
man.
analogy.
And you know, you can. People think you just Bob Saget. Bob Saget called you. That's it, baby.
Yeah, the public is
you made it.
The public's
like,
misinformed. We you know that's the case, I think, with most things, though. Sadly.
Yeah.
Because it's just the public is playing off of their own.
Yeah.
Ego, their own ego, and
right.
jealousy, and all things that go along with that,
right? And when you say like, you know, being consistent, you know, and just doing it over and over,
well, the average person won't do that.
I hate it.
And with anything,
people tell me like, dude, you got to do an Instagram video every day.
Half of them can't finish the 9 seasons of Sopranos.
I know.
Lay on the couch, you can't finish the season of Sopranos.
You know, I don't know what else to tell you.
Did you have a good time?
This is great. I'm like, dude, I'm just now getting back to like having full-on conversations personally with people.
I think this was great.
Especially
really
just
myself.
Strangers, bro.
Yeah, right on.
Like you were kind of a stranger.
Right on.
I didn't want to get to know you because I wanted to talk to you.
Yeah, we talked a little bit about that off camera.
Because sometimes like I said, you know, friends like T-Robe, you know, said good things about you, and I saw people like James Hoke on the show, and I'm like, okay, all right, he's not a serial killer. This is cool. I'm not gonna walk in and there's a plastic kill room, you know what I mean? And you're like, I have your wife and children.
That's in the other suite.
I know, right? We're creative people. We're weird, man.
We're a little weird,
but we're not all so weird. You know what I mean?
You come back and see me.
Yeah, dude.
I'd like to talk to you off camera about putting some other panel shows together here. We do a thing, a 4 Friends series I'm doing, and I got some crazy ideas.
This is fun, man.
I had a lot of fun, dude.
Dude,
and I really dug your story.
I appreciate
dig your story.
I appreciate you just let me talk.
Yeah, that's what I want you to do.
I just, you know.
Well, I love hearing people flesh out their stories. That's what I really I love.
That's what it is.
Because I think people are intoxicated in today's age with the free form riffing, free form, long form conversations because we're not getting it elsewhere in society.
Yeah.
You know, and we are the anti soundbite.
That's the one thing about podcasting I think it's done for comedians is that people can listen to my podcast and really like what you see is what you get.
Absolutely, man.
Like me right here, this is me. Like this is what you see is what you get.
But you learn so much more about people that way because they see you in this little bits of time in your performance. But to know someone, and I think it's funny. I've had musicians on that Norm Nardini. You know, everybody knows Norm when you see him on stage and you know his music and you know that stigma. But do you know him? Right. So him coming on and being able to flesh out that story, I can't tell you how good that's been for him. Yeah. And how good that's been for me personally, and the people that have listened to him for so long. The feedback has been incredible. So we're doing something kind of cool here. Not sure what the fuck we're doing, but it's kind of cool.
It's good, man. Hey,
it's kind of cool.
You got Rogan mics. That's a start.
We have Rogan mics. Yeah, and I'll put my studio up against Joe's.
Hey,
I mean, he has a.
This is legit.
He's got a serious thing going on over there. But without Joe, we wouldn't be sitting here. I wouldn't be.
I'm sweating a little too much though. This is bullshit.
It's a little hot here. Yeah.
I don't know if you read my rider.
That's Coriopolis.
It needs to be 66 degrees.
And just green M&Ms. Right?
That's literally if I ever
the red ones.
If I ever reach a point where I have like a rider, because I've had them. Do you know what I mean? Like I'm at a point where I've had a couple riders where they're like, "What do you want?" And I'm like, "Oh boy!" I was like, "Can I have 3 Diet Cokes and pay my electric bill?" You know what I mean? Like, but now you know what it is.
How'd that work?
You know what I've requested? This is such a fat dad thing. I've always been like, "Can you make it really cold?" I always go because when I'm on stage, dude, I go and I sweat my balls.
Yeah, of course.
I'm a sweater. I'm a chubby guy. I'm a thick boy, 2C thick boy. You know what I mean? Oh my God. I mean, like So I'm like, put it on 66 degrees. Put it on Mario Lemieux and this mother. Put it on Suisse. By the way, yesterday was the anniversary of Mario Lemieux being drafted by the Pittsburgh Penguins.
I heard that yesterday on The Fan. I still listen to that station once in a while when they actually have content as opposed to commercials. But that's another story.
Yeah, I know.
Good seeing you, man.
This is good times.
Do this again?
Yes.
You promised me. They're all hearing you. You promised you're coming back.
We met face to face.
You're coming back.
You know my testimony now. So now,
damn straight.
Now you have to.
Let's put some other good panel shows together.
Okay.
Let's really have some fun. Yeah. All right. Thanks, buddy.
Thank you.
All right. And how can I reach you?
Just Aaron Kleiber. You don't know
Google him.
No one knows how to spell that. It's
Well, I put in Keebler by mistake. I know it's Kleiber, but I was typing Keebler and I was getting Stacy Keebler photos everywhere. So that didn't suck.
That's also me.
That didn't suck, but I knew it wasn't. I knew it wasn't.
No, you. No, nobody can spell my name. It's like I before E, except in German. You know what I mean? So I just be like, hey, everybody go. You search Grown Dad Business. You know, you'll find me.
You got to watch the Amazon special too, by the way.
Yeah.
Tell people about that. It's streaming on Amazon right now.
It's on Amazon. Grown Ass Dad. If you
Dad.
You literally can type in Grown Dad and you'll find it on Amazon. You'll find Aaron Kleiber.
Very funny.
And it's on Spotify, Pandora. You know, you can listen to it on there. Yeah.
And the podcast. And you have no signs of slowing that down at all, right?
Well, I like I said, I slowed down for a couple months, and I was literally having old episodes get still thousands of listens.
Love that.
And I'm like, and literally people like, hey, I'm all caught up on your podcast. When the hell are you going to do another one?
People get addicted.
And I was like,
shoot. They get addicted, man. It becomes part of their routine. Yeah. If they have an exercise routine especially, that becomes their part of their soundtrack.
Yeah, man. So now, I'm back. I got some guests coming in.
Very cool.
Yeah.
Cool, man.
I need my inner child filled by talking.
He'll get it.
So thank you.
All right, buddy. Take care. Friends, we're out.
We did it.
We did it.
Hello, you're listening to the Eric McKenna Project.